encoder. Jel to?
A ne taj AMD hardware, nego onaj drugi procesor nabija. Iz nekog nepoznatog razloga mi ubija GPU load za 20% kad skidam. Uopšte ne znam, trebalo bi... Svi se žale za OBS da im pojačava GPU load, meni ga smanjuje.
Ne znam zašto bi ti...
Ne znam, ne mogu da provalim. Ali pošto ovako savršeno radi...
S.W.Frost 1 is now live. Streaming games plus demos, now what? Not enough resources.
Jel tako? Tako je. Gledao sam sinoć na YouTube-u, onaj što ima na Xbox Passu, ima onaj Assassin's Creed od Odyssey.
Da?
Kako je tu glupa igra, besomučno udaranje svega oko sebe. Šta je tu zadatak? Polomiti joystick?
Ne, uzmeš ženu i onda ideš okolo i šutiraš muškarce. To je pravi gameplay. Žena od 1,60 m, 1,70 m, šutira muškarce koji su teži od nje 50 kg. Šutira kao da su vreće peska.
Ne vidim pojentu filma, znam da film igra.
Da, to si upravo.
Ide čovjek i samo mlati okolo.
Strema, gromu od pesma sam te više volio. Kome li te vjetar krade, čije li te sunce grije, ek da si još malo ostala. Ej, kako si kada sa mnom nisi.
Milane, a gdje si ti to bio na poslu? Kad kažeš došli tamo.
Popije 2 kafe jutros. Šta radi? Smoky koki.
To radi zato ti je povezan, ono, emotivno, zato su ti je kita ko Smoky, ba vidiš, ja se čujem. Nekako se osjećaš sa tim Marbo Smokijem, jel?
Da. Ne bojim se gladi. Kad radim ne bojim se gladim. Da. Zašto uopšte upališ auto i odeš te vrbas?
Što Milan voli da radi taj Smoky njegovi, to?
Zato što ne mora da radi.
Emotivno je vezan zato što mu je kita ko Smoky, znaš, pa onda to nekako doživljava emotivno.
Emotivno je vezan za naraditis.
Da, konekciju, znaš, ono... Kad god pogleda u Smoky vidi svoju nemoć, znaš.
Jest. Yes.
Ajde, što ne ozvaničiš Iliju za brata rođenog i ovako ste isti dan rođeni. Isti dan ste rođeni, malte ne...
Da, brata rođena, na zidu smrti, da ne vjeruješ. Rođenim očima, ovo je vreme paklenih. Vozača.
Evo, samo da mi iščita kraj teku uvodnu špricu.
Ajde špricu.
O, mladi, udavim te u Adi.
U kadi.
prodavite za sva vremena.
Stari, a vidi Selmu, Hajek, šta je ovo?
Hajak. Kao kajak.
Sve bolje i bolje, a?
A ne,
Jel?
ne mogu reći da je sve bolje i bolje, ali dobro.
Čuj, nije bolje. Žena puca od zdravlja. Puca.
Puca neka
Gardi, od ti
eksplodira.
sutra ideš po X670.
Ja.
Evo, moguće da oni nešto si sad puka.
Prekidaš.
Internet ti
Kako
cepava.
misliš prekidati?
A, vjerojatno te
Ne znam šta me jebe.
net ti cepava. Pap, stivide pap.
Ne znam što se dešava. Jel moguće, Gardi, da oni nemaju X570?
Imaju, koliko sam čuo jutro s neki repari, ne sutra sve znati kad ode kod Minje tamo.
Ajde, da...
Kod Minje subote.
Minja Kostadinovića.
Bori se, to je šala, ne moraš ušte da kažeš koju pitanje. Znaš ko je Minja subota? Hajde, budi malo neozbiljan, ne moraš da budeš 100% ozbiljan. Mi smo neozbiljna firma.
Radio sam noću, sad sam ustaje.
Nema to veze što si ti starčina radio noćnu. Ja nisam spava
Slušaj
sam
ti,
zeru, pa šta?
slušaj ti, neradniče jedan. Čuti i pokri se ušima. Neradniče svetskoga glasa.
Još si rekao da me sere da je to strašno, tako si govorio.
Pa nekad ne serete, no te kenje.
Znaš šta će najviše da mi bude drago od svega? Pošto ti taj internet preko te antene daje ti ko kurac. Ti ćeš otkazati MTS koji ti donekle kako...
I onda ću ti reći MTS-u, važi momak, vidimo se.
Vidi, kako god da radi džabe je.
Ne bi se složio.
Neće biti Hanta.
Ne bi se složio. Neće malo. Neće to malo. Neće to malo da gubi. Kesić će ti bit 0, znaš. Kesić ovo što se malo...
Optika je od antene do korisnika,
Jest,
a između
a dve antene je vazduh. Između dve antene je vazduh. Ne. Aha, on nam objašnjava šta, viš Boris. Čekaj, ko ti je to rekao? To su ti oni ispričali tu bajku, ali?
Samo potpiši Milane, kad ti damo internet na kurcu ne služi...
Oni su mu obećali najjači paket što imaju, ali problem je... Što najjači paket je kurac.
Oni su taj paket od tebe do antene, znaš.
Borise, oni su mu rekli do toliko da će ići brzina.
Garantovat će ti taj paket od tebe do antene, a posle već nije njihova briga. Oni su tebi zagarantovali to tu. Tako.
A to što ti imaš gubitke, to je tvoj problem.
Pa imam i sad gubitke na paketima.
Pa barem...
Zašto imaš gubitke?
Zato što sam na bakru, da.
Ne.
Zato što sve to ide na isti kurac povezano, znači koji ovo što ću dobiti.
Ali bar ovo što ću dobiti će biti Snake ima jednu dobru rečenicu, sirć je dobro samo ako je džabe. Sirć je dobro džabe.
Vidiš, zna čovjek. Ali znaš šta, sad imaš sreće, ali obično karma je čudo, znaš, tako ti hvalisavci kao ti ne prođu dobro na kraju. Znaš, nešto se...
Znam da je to Milane džabe, ali što je džabe to i kus.
Nije džabe, ti ćeš to recimo da plaćaš isto.
Ja to, ne. Ja to ne želim da
Pa ja
plaćam.
nisam dobio.
Milane, pošaljimo invite, kuvam kapu, mogu sada i...
Nećeš imati izbora ili ćeš ostati bez...
Telekom neće ugasiti svoju uslugu. Sad god ti misliš. Zašto u Srbiji nemaš jednog mobilnog operatera? Zašto nemaš samo Jetel ili taj A1 ili šta već? Zašto nemaš samo jednog mobilnog operatera? U Beogradu, da. Da stvarno postoji optička konekcija. Da, a zove... Aha. Pa da.
Jer znaš šta je problem, Borise, kod nas? I iđeš i teketić imaju kablovsku. Samo smo mi kao lovčenac preskočeni.
I onda će oni da se nakače već na tu mrežu, svakako.
Znaš zašto su preskočeni? Zašto vam je Peko Ivanović na sav glas rastrubio kako je njegov predsjednik Milo, znaš,
Tako je, preskočili.
Tako da to treba da zahvalite Peki Ivanović, znaš.
Jeste, ali sada Snake, Puppet i Frosty će da dobije optiku.
Ja
Što će ga kao Petra Kajgana.
ne želim da dobijem optiku.
Ja bi Peka Ivanovića ubio odmah na listu.
Ja insistiram da želim da plaćam ADSL.
Paket kao i do sad, mislim.
Jest, ADSL. A ne želim. Jel kapiraš? Ne želim. Ne želim.
Nema potrebe i ovo je overkill.
Jest, ovo je previše.
Ali moraš kanale plaćati to.
A ne,
Slušaj Dragane.
Pa neće biti to toliko baš kao što ti kažeš. Jebo to po dinar. I posle ti nabiju cenu 5000 paket i šta? Nadoknade ti.
Kad je Makić sa zida ono sklonište iza njive tamo, jebote, gdje će niko da kopa do njega. Ja, SBB ne meni, 60, i radi ko sam đao. Malo. 3469 dinara, ja plaćam ovo. 6/60, sve kanale koji stoje, znači bez ograničenja. I fiksni telefon neograničen i 200 minuta ka inostranstvu.
A mi plaćamo
4850. Najjači i plus što reaguju kad ima neki stvar, reaguju odmah u roku od sat, dva. Nema čekanja MTS-a komunističko nasleđenog po 15 dana je.
Ti plaćaš 3200, ja plaćam 3800, 10 puta manju brzinu, duplo manje kanala. Snake i Kesić. Pored ulice, bakarni kabal plaća. Ne može više.
Ovo me umara. Samo ti pričaj, neću da te prekidam. Umara me ovo. Samo pričaj ti, ne želim da te prekidam, samo pričaj. Sad nastavi da pričaš. Psihički me. Psihički me umara.
Čuj, Milane, sve je kriv Peko Ivanović. Ko je kriv za sve? Da bi trebalo otići i presuditi sve vreme.
Uzeli taj tragar.
Ma da, morao sam sam budikao. Popao me budikavi bre, šta
Madonna. Opušteno.
A. Uzeo sam.
Oni trebao da bude advokat, to drveni, znaš. To naš je profesija.
Milman?
Da, on brani mene i Dragana Kesića. On štiti naša prava. Jao.
Pravi advokat.
Nemoj da me štitiš, molim te.
Pogrešio čovjek, opet ljud, pa ko ti je?
Pa nek smanji paket,
Ej, bijel je.
kako nema.
Bijel je. Bijel je.
Tu bijel je. Gardi,
Bijel.
šta je to bijeli?
Bijel je.
Stiki mu baci, Gardi, stiki, čuješ?
A nisam poneo zato što Milan kaže što nosiš.
Nemoj nosit, brate, nosi stiki ti uvijek, pusti žicu, žica je moj posao, žica je moj posao. Nosi stiki slobodno.
Načeo sam.
Mi to smeti. Ne nosim ništa. Ne nosim ništa tako da bi mi... Stepenice ove merde, stublice, merde. Ne, gore, vamo, dolje, stublice. Tu, Gardi, pinuje ti će.
Ovaj pinuje.
Ovamo, znaš gdje su stublice u ovom bosleru? Na stublice.
A Joki neće me uvatiti, jebote. Ti normalan, bre, gledaj desi.
Nemoj da te ubije, vrate.
Ma jebala te žica, da te jebe.
Daj meni to da bacim, ako ne znaš.
Kako da?
Šta ima da... Postavi je dolje. Dobro je.
Zato što si mi pokazivao ovdje, gledaj, evo, pokazivao si mi...
Ne gore, nemoj gore, probi žicu jebote.
No, blice.
Mislim da Nenad to zove stublice.
Basamac.
Ne.
Šta je to basamac?
Basamaci su ti kao merdevine stepenice. Basamac je. A evo sad si čuo, samo zapamti ako neko ti kaže da znaš šta je. Ne, balsamovanje ti je kad te ono, znaš, kad umreš pa te zaviju u zavoj, znaš. To ti je balsamovanje, to su radili ono Egipćani kad te naprave u mumiju. Balsamovanje. To ti dan danas isto rade sa mrtcima, ono.
Tu pastama si jebote, pola tih naziva nikad u životu čuo nisam jebote.
Pa to ti je taj kraj gdje on živi, to ti je kao druga država, druga zemlja, znaš. Kako ti objasnim?
A Nenad voli Turke, šta?
A najveći problem
to je Turčin kakvog nema jebote.
Pa razumem, naučio sam šta je mlijeko, gdje
Nije mlijeko, nije.
ne mešaj, u srpsko-crnogorski odnose...
Ljudi, viš da priča.
Atholj.
Čovjeka tu iznad tebe, Beka.
No, we speak Paganini language.
To nije Hermit. A nije.
Arnold Schwarzenegger passport language.
Balkanezi. To ti je Balkanezi, znači. Kako ti voliš toga čovjeka?
Beka, dvojica su tu iznad tebe, jedan je vamo nazad. Trče svi nazad.
Treba ga dovući ovdje na Discord nekako i pitat ga da li pravi za dobre pare budalo od sebe namjerno ili ako to radi za dobre pare onda okej.
Mrahta.
Ne on. Za Rahtu ne znam, zato što nije naše gore list. Na ovaj drugi. Njegov klon, da kažemo tako.
Pala, Beka! Dvojica su pala! Dođi vamo, brzo! Pucaj ga, gardi! Tu je, Beka!
Da, flashova me čekaj.
Bravo, to je to. Asshole, dude!
Arnold Schwarzenegger, dude. Language. Last call, I'll be back.
Kidaj ovo, jebot.
Nema. Last call. Ajde, mrdaj, Dragane, ajde. Gdje da bežim, šta pričam? Kako da bežim kad bi Milman stao? Molim. Da. Da, uzet ću terminus sljedeći meč. Shvatio sam poruku. Koji pištolj imaju, da je neki...
Slušaj, koji god pištolj imaju džabe.
Nema niko više.
German hero, pick up the bounty. German hero. Ajmo.
Gdje je onaj Mitchked, Gardi? Gdje je onaj Mitchked?
Šta kažeš, Keci?
Onaj Mitchked, vamo neći. Ma da. Evo ti Gardi. Šta je dao ovo? Mitriadist.
Mithandrit. Tako... Koji izljaz idemo?
Teftiš grov.
Šta tamo?
Tamo idemo, ajde. Dole. Pa diga ovoga, tačno prije no što ćeš doći, diga ga je. Ja sam dvojicu završio. Pa vidjet ćeš, sad će imat... Gardi, pratiš igru, Gardi.
Ma, razumeo sam te na Alliance song.
Teftiš grov, brate.
To meni isto ko je Alliance. Alliance.
Alane.
Milan.
Isti jezik u prevodu. Češki, poljski, to isto.
Balkanezi. To je Balkanezi. I Rahta i Vomus priča istim jezikom, Balkanezi.
Čekaj, češki i Poljasi su u prevodu kao Rusi i Ukrajinci. Pa ne, jezici ono da kažem.
Česi i Slovaci, a ne...
Poljaci su nešto drugo.
Poljaci su obrazili da su Nemci 85. godine tamo negdje, kad kuraju taj fazon. Mini valovi i tako to, znaš, Durice je. Asfalj. Milane, asfalj.
Stiže li ovaj neće stići, ovaj neće stići. Hoći, da? Neće, da? Gdje ideš po vodi, stari?
Ne idem po vodi, kao da po balvanima je.
Ja viče Maskolja, Gardi se kida od smeka.
Ne, akcenat je dobar. Nije poenta da si ti nešto rekao pogrešno ispravno, nego akcenat kojim si ti to rekao.
Ali peniš od beka dere guzo je, znaš, na auto 5.
Jes ako možda pogodiš. Tu mislim na Milan.
Ilija, dvojicu sam ubio sa peniš od.
A ti jesi. Zato što ti znaš da gađaš. A neko ne može ni sa backshotom da pogodi.
Dok gledaš beka ili in stream.
Ne znam što gledam. Promijenio Jedino...
기쁨이 눈물.
Sve tu u redu. Jedino da mi kažeš kakav mi je ovaj encoder, ovaj AMD-u. Liči ili na nešto. Ako već imamo tebe neke koristi. Framerate je dobar, za kucane oko 140 frameova s ovim AMD encoderom. Ali nikad nije bio problem u framerate u meni.
Uzeo sam u terminus.
U terminusu.
U terminus. Stuttering u terminus. Milane.
A Kokov CE mini bitty stream essay.
200/50 하얀 이를 드러내며 하하라.
A ne... Lud čovjek. Zanima me da li ima pikselizacije, da li se paljuju kockice, da li bufferuje i tako to me zanima. Pa znam da ima. Zato što Milan me sluša na razglas.
Zato se čuje, znaš.
Isto ko priji.
A onda je u redu.
Manje vizi.
Ako je manje više isto, onda u redu. Pojente da ne bude gore.
Tib Jebnet.
Gardi, ako ti neko kida žicu, a ti si sa shotgunom i slaziš na njega, odmah.
ITI to dobro zinas.
I ti to dobro znaš. Bobo! Bobo smrade!
Dedak.
Da igraš, Lija.
Probavam ovaj novi encoder, ne novi nego... Do sad sam išao preko procesora, znaš, to ti je ovaj Intelov encoder.
Al Jakuti I Omogyositai Jasi Net.
Ma... ja pretpostavljam... Ja ne mogu ni da okrpim kako treba. Jedino da provjerim kakav je YouTube kvalitet. Znaš da mi nađeš kanal na YouTube-u? Kad bi ti znao da nađeš S.W.Frost 1 na YouTube-u. Pošto ako nisi znao ne moraš da mi pišeš.
Budo misliš?
Da, Budo Medić, da.
Budo Medić!
Taj. Taj, Budo. Bude Medić.
Ne zajebavaj, ne verujem da je taj tako fine poslove radi. Kaki bre, taj nije nikad teže od kašike digaš tako. Ma da bre. Tati je pa diga mu sin kredit i zakopa sina za cijel život. A gdje, pa ti si dobar radnik za njega.
Napalite Kesić. Ovoga svijeta.
Pa njemu žena ide tipa da mladi kosom kad treba, jeli, za stoku da se popoči. Kako je pa taj što drže? A to, da.
Ali je mrak, ali je noć, ali je tamno.
Se reka AI. Kao Artificial Intelligence.
Kao borac, ali AI.
AI?
Beksone, keksone. Baš si askolj.
Ajmo askolci na Dan Tranč. Pitching krematoriju. polju.
Aj si vidio ti što ja i Peđa ležimo zagrljeni.
Pa to ja mislim da je Beka slika.
Nije, ja sam sliku, ali sam gledao kroz Beku.
A,
On jedini bio živ.
A što sam ja mislio da su Beka i Peđa bili mrtvi i da je Boris iščupao stvar.
ljudi su na saj preskaču, polako. Nemoj vrane dići ove. Čuješ, pingujem ti točno gdje su. Ne no, strano. Ao, uzmem si veliku staminu se ubrizga, treba si mi reći odmah. Mikro Express, bježi u ići nas jebati. Vidite kako mitje da ga ubijem. Ima neke korište. Šta pucaš koji kurac?
Dobao. Pa neću ja pucam u zombija, za levering. Sad ću u tebe na ekstračinu.
Jesi ti to počeo da koristiš, Borise, onaj... Conduit, a?
Dižem mi gardi. A kako neće oni doći tu, a? Nemoj ni šanit dok pucam.
Pa ne, ni šanit!
Jesam ti skinuo jedno 20 healthy, gardi.
Ljudi ne kapiraju da nisam kući. Kako se ne javlja, nisam kući.
Ne igram u Gunslinger modu. Ja, na kuk mi je jedno, pucam po kurac. Uzo sam. Brate, Mili, znam kako puca i znam kako meni ne puca, jebote.
Šta puca? Neka puca, neka eksplodira. A igrao su i Gunslingeru. Nenad kaže da mu lakše da igra u Gunslingeru. Ne, nemam ja ništa protiv, nego onda dođeš u situaciju da treba da udariš zombija sa kundakom od puške. Aj, brate. I onda on treba da nađe bokser, pošto dok udari kundakom kuške prođe po godinu.
A znam kako ti puca, evo, znači stisno sam samo desni klik na polu na nisrani, ono. Znači kurac, evo.
To ti je aim down sight, ne shoulder aim, nego aim down sight. Gadi, držiš samo nišan da ti se pojavi.
Ponaša se isto koji Winchester levering, znam šta je levering, ne mi tu pričam.
Dobro, što sad...
E pa to, isto ko Winchester.
Što sad tu pita čovjek?
Tako nego je putu 5 skorije.
Ne, onda nemaš taj per.
Nemaš straight. Nemaš levering onda.
nisi digo frekvenciju. Pa ne no, imaš toliku razliku premova u odnosu na mene, mora si diga frekvenciju, jer moja na fabričku
Nisam, eno, čisto sam stani Dragane, dosta na netu, iako ne bi trebalo retardirati control down, 2K rezoluciji u Full HD udariti mnogo to ne bi trebalo, a zavis. Trening, te meni levering, pa pokupio sam gospoda tamo, evo.
Nisi ga pokupio.
Pa to je to.
A pokupio sam gospoda u...
Dobre, to je bug. Kapiraš, igra ima greške i to veliki.
Nisam bre zamenio pokoj, to nije prvi put da mi se dešava da pokupim neki trade i da mi nestane jebo.
Nije nego ti ga ne registruje da ga imaš.
Znaš šta je problem, Gardi? Nisi do kraja F držao dok...
Animaciju nije odradio i treba da...
Tu je boss, ladno je tu, Odlično. Ma bježi, doći nam ljudi doći nam ljudi. Nemojte sad zbog traga da gubimo partiju, ljudi. Ajde, Gardi, upadaj. Ajde, unutra uđi.
Pusti ga nek ga Milan prvo.
Njega se pogodi, ne moraš ti ajde. Upadaj, da mogu žicu. Skolj. Ma smeće bre, svaka. Brza to, brate, kurac. Gardi, pa ko beži? Gardi beži. Asholj. A znaš što je, brate? On, gledaj, ako mu ostane četvrtina, iako je agroan, bodi ga, brate, do kraja, ne možete ubiti sa četvrtinom healthy. A ne može ga beko ubiti sa četvrtinom healthy.
Nećeš govno od žice.
Šta se bojiš koji kurac?
Nećeš govno od žice da bacim. O jebate, jebe me čovjek. Hand cannon sam opučao neki. Hand cannon, ej brate, hand cannon, ej, alo. Otključio sam
Hand cannon.
Otključio sam ručni top, jebate, hand cannon.
Hand cannon.
Hand kanona. A, bolim.
Kanonen.
Aman, uzeću, jebo majku. Ma to je sjajno. Opet ko pičke bežimo na izgled. Jebe.
Znaš šta bi beka bilo idealno, da mi ova grafička digne barem jedno 10 frame-ova, a ne treba mi više, čisto da mi stabilno radi.
No.
Da kao ne možeš više klokovat. Čovjeka tu iznad tebe, beka. Može 100%. Ali treba to u Afterburneru da otključaš, ja znam kako to radi. Ne, gore, vamo, dolje, stupice. Da, ali ti kažeš da imaš 180 frame-ova, a ja imam 90. Nemoguće da je duplo bolja jebote.
Nisi me saslušao za ovo što sam ti rekao za procesor, znači, iako...
Back in the 90s, when I was learning to read, I was reading a biography on the fascinating life of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I thought to myself, wow, this guy has lived one heck of a life. He has done so much. And then years later, after I had read that book, he became the governor of California, thus making that entire biography extremely outdated and in much need of an update, because this dude keeps writing new chapters, adding new sequels to this mega franchise that we like to call Arnold. He's a hard worker, driven, and always challenges himself, and pushing himself past limits previously
Znači, pa da, u 4K, da, čuo sam. To je zato što nisu teksture optimizovane, znaš, u 2K. Vodi se vjerojatno u pravu. U 4K radi bolje.
Pazi.
Zato što vjerojatno downscale-uje on sam interno te teksture u nešto što tvoj monitor ili može da izbaci.
4K nema nikakve veze, 4K je sve na grafičkoj. Možda staviš sve.
Is science fiction, and he can't exactly spit out perfect, tongue-twisting Shakespearean English dialogue, yet he still conquered an industry that requires you to do some good talking. Arnold has lived the American dream many times over, and when this guy is working with the right scripts, in the hands of the right directors, he has potential to make masterpieces. And yeah, there has to be a better way to say this, but his funny bone is as big as his muscles. But as time seems to deflate those muscles, Arnold Schwarzenegger has turned into something of a grandfather figure. Because he's literally a grandfather. This guy has lived an unbelievable life that has let him see and do everything. And yeah, he did everything, excelling in multiple careers throughout the decades. Not to mention a politician and a social media influencer, whatever the f that is. So yeah, let's find out what the f happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger. But to truly understand what the f happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger, we must begin at the beginning, and the beginning began when he was born on his birthday, Austria, 1947. Young Arnie grew up with an abusive, literal Nazi of a father, and went into the Austrian army out of obligation. During this time, he started entering bodybuilding competitions, winning Mr. Universe, amateur, in 1967, and winning as a professional from 1968 to 1970, with a once record-holding Mr. Olympia streak. One of those, the 1975 contest, was depicted in the must-see documentary Pumping Iron, which proved that Arnold was meant to be on camera. His charismatic screen presence could not be ignored. The movie industry was watching this guy closely, and in 1970 he made his debut in Hercules in New York, billed as Arnold Strong, because he's strong, and Schwarzenegger is like really complicated, for posters and for tongues and for reading reasons, but you know, eventually Arnold went to using his birth name. There were also small turns in stuff like The Villain, Scavenger Hunt, and Stay Hungry, which earned him a Golden Globe for New Star of the Year. Arnold noted that he faced discrimination in the movie-making industry at first for being both a physical freak and having an accent. This is something that would hover over his career, as he was often asked to repeat lines. Let me do that again. As he was often asked to repeat lines. Once more, as he was often asked to repeat lines. There we go. But instead of letting that get him down, Arnold started looking for roles that were so powerful that the dialogue played second fiddle, which brought us his breakthrough performance in Conan the Barbarian. in 1982. This was followed by a disappointing, more family-friendly sequel, Conan the Destroyer, but we don't need to talk about that one. But yeah, with this character, he personified the ultimate badass cinematic warrior, letting his muscles and his sword skills do all the talking. He just kinda needs to stand there, and you're like, yeah, that's a movie star. Director John Milius really knew how to use Arnold's strengths, whether it be physical or his other strengths. But it was Arnold's appearance in The Terminator in 1984 that made him an iconic giant, famously edging out O.J. Simpson, who wasn't believable as a killer. And hey, if the glove doesn't fit, the studio wanted Arnold as Reese, the human. But when director James Cameron, the human, met with Arnold, he was charmed and wise enough to know that he would make the perfect Terminator. So he fired O.J. Simpson and he was like, get out of here, go do something else. But yeah, here's how impressive that T-800 performance was. Arnold had fewer than 20 lines of dialogue, but still makes one of the most lasting villains of modern cinema. And to play a robot can easily be campy and cheesy. Like, he could have just been walking around stiff, being like, but no, he brought actual character and depth to this piece of metal, and that takes true acting skill. And of course, James Cameron knew how to utilize Arnold's speech patterns to cinematic perfection. And yeah, during this decade of the 80s, Arnold totally owned it. Arnold's 1980s were part of the pinnacle, explosive, greasy, muscle, macho man movie films. With guns and explosions and punches. Of course, not all of those movies could be as great as Commando, which was a true turning point in the genre of action cinema. It's like a pure action movie, you know, by definition, right? But there would also be junk like Red Sonja that he considers the worst film he ever made. There was also the movie Raw Deal in 1986, which was a completely forgettable, kind of boring wannabe gangster movie, and only features like 2 action sequences, but boy howdy are those action sequences epic as F. And that F, it stands for f***. There was also Red Heat, where he plays a Russian, I think, co-pairing him with Jim Belushi. Doesn't exactly have the chemistry that he did with DeVito later in Twins, but, you know, these two, they're fun to watch. Still, he did star in a number of his most iconic works towards the end of the decade, like Predator in 1987. With an ensemble cast featuring another future governor and a dude who ran for governor. But yeah, director John McTiernan, he perfectly blends together mindless meathead action with brilliantly crafted sci-fi horror. And the backbone, the soul of the film is Arnold. And yeah, no one, absolutely no one could go face to face with a predator and survive. Well, no one except for Danny Glover, Adrian Brody, and Native American, indigenous, powerful female. Other than those people, nobody can stop a predator but Arnold. Plus, there was The Running Man in 1987, based on a Stephen King novel, which saw director Paul Michael being blasted for losing the deeper meaning of the satirical message of the script. We still love it, though. It's amazing, he gets to fight that other governor. There were also some silly movies that let Arnold dip his toe in the kiddie pool, like Twins in 1988, with a concept that found him as Danny DeVito's twin. It's much better than it sounds, actually. And the screenplay plays perfectly to Arnold's limited yet impressive talents. And his chemistry with DeVito and his comedic timing in the hands of director Ivan Reitman, well, it propels this flick to be more than just big man, little man do funny things. Twins is actually a heartfelt, really hilarious movie. that even lets Arnold kick
87
ass.
da.
Not sure they really need to make that rumored triplets movie, but sure, why not? And we cannot forget Kindergarten Cop. In 1990, which has become meme-tastic, this film puts Arnold in the fish-out-of-water scenario, and he's surrounded by the most hilarious kids this side of the 90s. And let's not forget Junior, because a lot of people forgot Junior. A lot of people want to forget Junior. A lot of people are making us forget Junior. Because in this movie, his character has a f***ing baby. Man, what about Jingle All the Way in 1996? Didn't really seem to make any waves that holiday season, but it seems like this one eventually became a Christmas classic. It actually makes some really profound statements on materialism and the corporate greed that surrounds Christmas now. And yeah, it has a heartwarming family story too, because Christmas. You know how they did a Lightyear movie where it was like him, but not him, but it was him, but the inspiration, the real guy? They should do that with Turbo Man. I'm just saying. That'll save Christmas. And Arnold was so successful at this comedy thing that many former action stars are still trying their damnedest to follow Arnold's success. And nobody has really come close. Arnold knows when to poke fun at himself. He's a master. A serious shift in Arnold's cinematic output came in 1990 with Total Recall. Not only did he get master filmmaker Paul Verhoeven hired, but Arnold was also able to convince the studio to allow him to tinker the script a bit. This showed that Arnold needed complete control over his work, and he needed the right team and the right filmmaker for the job. And Total Recall does just that. It's a fever dream of a film that will make you think, and it drills some clever satire and action-packed action into your puny brain. Then Arnold joined up with James Cameron to make the perfect sequel that has everything we go to the movies for. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which swept the MTV Movie Awards and gained respect from cinema connoisseurs at the same time. It's the ultimate popcorn movie presented as a work of art, or the ultimate work of art presented as a popcorn movie. I can't decide. But yeah, this character, now he's a good guy and is still iconic and perfect, and no one else could and should ever play a Terminator ever again, even though they did. But just like with the first Terminator, Cameron really knows how to play off of Arnold's natural robotic characteristics. Arnold pretty much had conquered the planet at this time, so he did the whole Planet Hollywood thing alongside his big screen rival, Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis. But what else did he do with all of this Hollywood power? Well, he starred in what is considered to be one of the biggest duds up until that point, 1993's Last Action Hero. When it first came out, everybody was crapping all over this movie, but honestly, it's wildly creative and surprisingly a smart satire, and it's a genuinely underrated postmodern gem of a movie. Just the existence of Last Action Hero really showed how big and iconic Arnold had become. Hollywood made a movie about his career in Hollywood. Not many ever achieved that kind of star power. Then he teamed up with James Cameron again in True Lies in 1994. Easily one of the best made action movies of the 90s, with its beautifully shot action sequences and decent script, accompanied by wonderful performances from everybody, even Arnold. He had re-emerged as a contender for the best action star of the decade. Conquered the 80s and, yeah, still conquering the 90s. And yeah, I would say that True Lies is one of his best dramatic performances. Even though he's still playing his, typical archetype character, action hero guy. But in True Lies, his character, Harry, feels like a real human, a real person with real human person feelings, like love. And the cheesy action movie camp is so well balanced with the drama and the comedy that even Arnold's one-liners, well, they feel like poetry. Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies are so awesome that sometimes they can feel like roller coasters, like theme park rides, and one actually became a ride. T2 3D Battle Across Time, which is actually better than most of the Terminator movies. It opened in 1996, and that same year, he released the very underrated Eraser, which is a really well-made film that is as fun as it needs to be. And you can really feel the struggle in Arnold during these action sequences because apparently he did his own stunts. And if anyone else was starring in this movie, Eraser, it would have been considered a box office hit. But since Arnold's other flicks were making so much money, well, Eraser looked like a bit of a failure to the studio. It made money, but not enough money.
Your luggage.
Which, yeah, this may have been the beginning of the downfall of Arnold's acting career, because from there, he was horribly miscast as Mr. Freeze in the infamous Batman and Robin in 1997. This really hurt his film career, with an awful script that only catered to Arnold's infamous one-liners. That's literally all he did. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, sorry.
Polako, Beka. Ne izleći, Beka, ne izleći, polako.
Then came a string of decent yet lackluster action flicks. They were okay, but you could tell that this was a lesser Arnold. He is surprisingly good when he battled the devil in End of Days. Then he went on to fight his clone in The Sixth Day, and he hunted down terrorists in Collateral Damage in 2002. It was a film that seemed promising but was delayed and re-edited into oblivion after the 9/11 terrorist attacks in 2001. Hollywood was not sure if audiences were ready to see such things on the screen again. It was a very sensitive time in our history, especially at the movies. Collateral Damage is a fine movie, it's just not very memorable. Then he returned to the Terminator franchise with the Terminator Rise of the Machines, number 3, which I thought was the worst Terminator movie ever made, but then they just kept getting significantly worse. So now it almost looks like Rise of the Machines is a decent Terminator movie, even though it sucks. And Arnold didn't make a movie after 2003's Terminator 3 for nearly a decade. That's right, movie theaters went Schwarzenegger-less for like 10 years. But what was Arnold doing during this time? Well, he was taking inspiration from one of his idols, movie star turned politician Ronald Reagan. That's right, Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected the governor of California for 2 terms. Arnold's success in politics is impressive, considering he had been hit with several accounts of misconduct that accused Arnold of alleged inappropriate behavior and touching women when they didn't want to be touched, mostly on their asses. Such allegations would pop up now and then, putting dents in Arnold's reputation. The most headline-grabbing and honestly shamefully pathetic thing that Arnold ever did led to a divorce from his wife, Maria Shriver, after it was revealed that he fathered a son with the family maid. And just look at this kid, yeah, he's definitely from Arnold's family tree. Again, this man was a man who had complete control over his life. Anything he set his mind to, he accomplished. Arnold would not be pigeonholed as any one thing. Indeed, it actually has been noticed that duality is a major theme in Arnold's movies and his life, like in The Running Man, Last Action Hero, and The Sixth Day, just to name a few. Often standing alongside himself as a way to say that he is his own worst enemy, and he's also the reason for his success. He also has dual citizenship. In the past decade or so, Arnold has been trying really hard to rekindle his acting career, with a few flicks here and there. Some have been valiant efforts, but still lacking in that iconic charm and energy of his more respected works. All of this while he was desperately trying to bring life back into the Terminator franchise. Because just like the Terminator, those movies won't stop. So yeah, in this later chapter of his career, Arnold has put out movies that, for the most part, only caught his core fan base simply because, hey, it's Arnold. Hey Arnold! You know, things like his cameo in The Expendables in 2010, co-starring his former rival, now BFF, Sylvester Stallone. Once Arnold saw that The Expendables, you know, was successful, his part got a little bigger in Expendables 2 and 3. Which, yeah, these things aren't exactly, you know, good, but it is fun to watch all of these action stars shoot things next to each other. There was the movie called The Last Stand. Got to play around with the aging action star thing. Didn't really break any ground or anything, but you could tell Arnold was having some fun. Still was able to kick some ass, but still not as good as the movies he used to make. Seems like Arnold couldn't step away from Stallone and joined in on that Escape Plan movie in 2013, which was lackluster, as they say. 2014 brought us Sabotage. This older Arnold was trying to dip his toes into some more grittier material directed by David Ayer. Ironically, I think Sabotage is a better Suicide Squad movie than Suicide Squad. And Arnold and all of those Hollywood people, they would ruin everything about the Terminator with Terminator Genesis, which terminated all of the heart and the soul of what made the Terminator movies good. Of note would be 2015's Maggie, which Arnold gave a rare dramatic and emotional performance, and proved that he was not done keeping fans on their toes. And yeah, this zombie movie, Maggie, it's not exactly good, but the casting of Arnold Schwarzenegger is so curious and fascinating that the film just draws you in. His presence and his persona and the history you have with him, it allows the drama to hit. You know, seeing this tough guy cry, that makes the tears even more sad. And yeah, he would stick with the drama with the really, really, really sad movie Aftermath in 2017. I don't know if these are spoilers or anything, but this movie, Arnold loses his family in a plane crash, and he just like cries and cries, and it's so sad. And yeah, if anyone else was cast in this movie, I'd just be like, yeah, decent drama, but the fact that it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, that it's his face that these tears are coming out of, like I said, it hits even harder. It's Arnold's career coming full circle. The Terminator now knows why we cry, and now he can do it himself in this really beautiful, depressing gem of a movie called Aftermath. If you like being sad, watch this movie. It has kind of an interesting twist at the end, but, you know, nothing compared to Total Recall. But yeah, after all that sadness, I guess Arnold felt like he needed to do comedy again, and he tried really hard, actually way too hard, with the movie Killing Gunther. Him and everybody in this movie, they're just trying way too hard. They're like, look at me, I'm being funny, look at me, I'm being funny. And it's like, oh my god. This film also thinks that it can simply rely on Arnold's star power. And yeah, it's embarrassingly unfunny. Like me! Then in 2019 came Terminator Dark Fate, which I had so much hope for. I truly believed that this could save the franchise and Arnold's acting career. But no. Even though all of the pieces were there, the ball was still dropped and destroyed, and our future and the world was... it ended. Terminator Genesis was bad, but you could still at least laugh at how bad it was and kind of have some mindless fun. But Dark Fate is so bad that it's depressing and disrespectful. It's a mess of a movie with zero humanity, and it's a film about saving humanity. And the whole aging skin on a cyborg is bullshite. Hear me out, Arnold should have played a rugged old soldier guy whose body was the mold for the T-800 design, like they did in Terminator 3, but not stupid. There is no reason for this movie to exist, and absolutely no reason for elderly Arnold to even be in it. As a Terminator fan, I hate Terminator Dark Fate because it feels like this movie hates me. Arnold is most certainly not the action star he once was. Now, he is sort of a modern grandfather of the action genre. We respect what he has done and the path that he paved for others to follow, putting Schwarzenegger at a legendary status. Beyond legendary. But yeah, like all of us, he just got older. And old people can't do some things, apparently. Gone are the days of chases on horseback and epic bathroom battles, 18-wheeler chases, punching predators, and carrying lumber on his shoulders. Those days are gone. And now when he uses catchphrases, it's sort of sad. As if he's saying, "No, really, I said I'd be back, and I meant I would be back. See, I'm totally back, because I'll be back. I'm back. See that I'm back to back. Do you get it, that I'm back?" Like, it feels like that. But I still kind of love it.
I'll be back. I'll be back. I'll be back.
I'll be right back.
I'll be back.
I might be back.
I'm back. We'll be back.
I'm back. I'm back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. Ha! You did not gonna say that, did you?
That's what you always say.
And just like the genres featured in his comedic, action-packed filmography, Arnold's politics are all over the place. He's a California Republican who married a Kennedy, who often says things that piss off the left and the right. But hey, who cares? He's Arnold. And it seems like he still spends a lot of time doing charity work and playing with his donkeys on Instagram. Oh, and he's now the father-in-law to Chris Pratt. That must be an interesting Thanksgiving. Despite his shortcomings and occasional inching towards self-parody, he remains a legendary icon in many fields. And yes, we all know that he'll be back. So that's why nobody should give a fuck about what the fuck happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he's doing just fine.
Ovdje vidim oružje, aha evo ga na krovu ovdje.
To je ova žnica bačena ovdje.
To je 5.
I 6. ti je vamo, evo ga vamo. Tu ti je 6. Gardi.
Da, se ne može i sad onu prvu trojicu da nađem da izlocam, gdje su oni.
1125
Well, I might have to leave Canada.
Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and I'm going to be making a pretty off-the-cuff video, ladies and gentlemen. And the title is not wrong. I'm not like sitting here in clickbait. I might actually just leave Canada. I might actually be forced to move.
You gotta come down here, come a little bit down south, become an American, brother. You shoot guns, blow shit up, and say whatever the hell you want.
To another part of the world that I don't necessarily care about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that really makes me mad, makes my blood boil, is politics. All right, like I don't like talking about politics. Okay, I hate the idea of it. And generally, I understand. Yes, politics is a very important thing, very necessary thing. But A, I'm not smart enough to discuss it, and B, it just feels like in the last few years, it's caused so much of a division that people are more interested in the idea of team sports than critically thinking, okay?
This has been true for a long time. I think it's been true. I feel like there was a shift whenever 9/11 happened. I think 9/11 was a pretty big one. And then there was another really big one with Trump. Like, I think those are like two, like, metric levels of team sports that have happened with politics. Like, you guys gotta keep in mind, I'm 32, okay? So I was alive and I remember 9/11 quite well. And I don't know, like, I'm sure that, like, if I asked my dad would say, like, there were other points before this. But from my experience and, like, my life, those have been the points that happened to me.
But why are we mentioning politics? Now, in the last few months, you've probably seen me upload videos about a bill known as Bill C-11.
Yeah.
And this is something that not only I've wanted to make videos about, but YouTube as a company has pestered its Canadian content creators to get videos about this out, to educate the public, and also in a way, pester us to politically be involved with the actual government.
I'm not a fan of that, by the way. I don't think anybody really should be whenever they're trying to pester. It's like, I get it, but at the same time, it's a little bit weird. My perspective with, like, politics is that I think anybody should be able to talk about politics as much as they want, regardless of whether you think that they're an authority on it or not. But it doesn't mean you have to take them seriously. Of course, you don't have to listen to them. It's just that they can speak their opinion on it. But one thing that I don't really like is whenever people feel like they have the moral authority to push other people into talking about politics on their behalf. Whenever they think, oh, well, this is such an important issue that you need to speak about this, you have to talk about this. I really don't like that, and I think it's very counterproductive. And I think it just doesn't help anything, and it just makes everything worse. The if you're not with us, you're against us mentality. I'm really not a fan of that. So is this kind of what YouTube is doing? You know, it borderlines on that. But like that general sentiment, I really don't like at all. It's like aggressive evangelism. Yeah, exactly. Like there's just a lot of people, and I think also the fundamental with it is like, a lot of people might agree with you, but they might not trust you that you are giving them a fair shake of what's going on. It's like, for example, think of the most extreme, you know, liberal or conservative, and how they are going to frame anything political, right? And like what the language they're going to use is, how they're going to frame it. And then, you know, for a lot of people, they don't want to have their opinions dictated to them by somebody who is that extreme. People just don't want to deal with that. They just want to be able to not deal with the fucking bullshit anyway, right? So it's important to keep that in mind, and I think that's probably one of the worst things that you know, recent politics has done, is it's made people feel like they have a moral authority to pressure and force different content creators and people into having opinions on things that they're not comfortable about or they're not fully understood about.
Now, when it comes to the government of Canada, they don't care about anybody, okay? You could vote for the Liberals or Justin Trudeau. The guy gives no shits about you. It's some rich kid who's a plain prime minister, so to speak. You've got the Conservatives with, I think it's like Pierre Poilievre or whatever the hell the name is this time.
I don't know anything about
that guy doesn't care about you. Honestly, no politician cares.
The only thing I know about Canadian politics is that everybody thinks that Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son. Like, I've seen a lot of pictures, and to be honest, it is, I mean, there is compelling evidence. No, I don't know, but there is very compelling evidence for this.
About you, no matter where you live. I don't know why this is a shocking concept to many people, but yes, politicians are just people pretending to care for you. Literally, just witness it for yourself. If you're ever in election season, the only time you'll ever see your MP, senator, whatever, is when they need votes. Okay, after that, motherfucker is a ghost. It's easier to catch Bigfoot than it is your actual political candidate. Okay, so Bill C-11 is there.
I think that there are some politicians that care, but I think also the issue is that, like, whenever you're a senator or whenever you're in charge of something, you have to be responsible for like 50,000 different things. So it's just not really possible for you to care about everybody's issues. It's kind of like a bad system in a way.
Known as the Online Streaming Act, the Broadcasting Act. There's a portion of this act that has to do with the internet and broadcasting in general.
Okay.
Now, the way that broadcasting in Canada works is there is a basic concept known as CanCon, which is Canadian content, okay? Are you Canadian enough for the content that you produce and the country? Now, generally, this law...
This always works well. A nationality litmus test. This is good. Maybe if he puts a hat on that has the Canadian leaf on it, then they will know that he's serious.
Or this act,
yeah, it's like Comic-Con, but for Canadians.
Or this regulation has never really applied to the internet, simply because when they made these laws, they made them back in the year like 1991, early 90s. So this is when like the internet wasn't even around, or when it was like basically in its infancy. We're talking the ARPANET era, okay?
Right.
But nowadays, there's a lot of people who broadcast stuff on the internet. It's not just us. We're not just content creators. We're more specifically talking about companies like Amazon, with Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, obviously, You've got Google with their own like video, and I believe YouTube TV as well, which is like a live television component. And you get it. Nowadays, the broadcasters have shifted to the internet. And a lot of the old school companies, the TV cable companies, are losing millions of dollars a year and subscribers for people who are buying cheaper internet-based services. It's a lot cheaper for...
Bold of him to say that they're buying the services.
Somebody to have a Netflix subscription than a cable TV subscription, because for cable TV, if they're watching it for the news, the weather, a lot of that is given to them via their cell phone anyways. A lot of people get their news these days from TikTok, Twitter, you name it. And when it comes to movies and entertainment...
Yeah, I tell my dad, it's like a lot of the ways that I get my news is that I'll read something and I'll see like a really popular tweet about something that happened. And if it's bullshit, all of the comments below it will be explaining that it's bullshit. It's like being fact-checked in real time. I love it.
A lot of people just buy the entertainment service they care about. So for some people, they'll buy Disney Plus, they'll buy Netflix, Amazon, whatever. Nowadays, the Act wants to basically treat these companies in the same way that companies domestically in Canada are treated. So that basically means that they need to have a certain requirement of Canadian content. Now, all in all, it sounds good. And the government has made it sound like, hey, a lot of those marginalized voices, so I guess minorities, you know, people like me who have trouble at the airport, so to speak, get a bigger say.
You know they randomly selected me? I still couldn't fucking believe that. I was like, wait, I thought this was like just some fucking thing you guys did so you could be racist. Like, I didn't know it was actually, I genuinely thought that it wasn't actually random. I thought it wasn't actually random, and it's like, actually, they're just picking somebody out. It's like, this guy looks like a terrorist, come over here, we're gonna strip search you. And I got randomly fucking selected by TSA. Yeah, it's not random. Maybe it's a little bit of both, okay? Did you have your beard and long hair? Yeah, but it wasn't the 60s, so I probably wasn't gonna bomb anything, okay?
In the world of media. Now, it all sounds really nice, okay? The government and all of its agents do a really good job on the fucking wording for these things, okay?
Oh, yeah,
obviously, when you word it like that, you might think, damn, this is a pretty decent idea.
Yeah, they always
say that. Now, when
it
comes to the idea of this bill, it's to allow Canadian companies to have more equal footing in the entire grand majority of the world. Now, normally, where does YouTube and the YouTubers get involved? Why is YouTube...
In a general sense, I am not a fan of giving people more of a voice than what they earn. I think that one of the best things about the internet and about audiences and about just being able to exist online is that in a lot of cases and in a lot of ways, it's effectively a complete meritocracy. If people want to watch your stream because you're funny, they're going to watch your stream because you're funny. If they want to watch your videos because you're funny, they're going to watch your videos because you're funny. Now, obviously, people can get banned and suppressed by algorithms, and, you know, you can get help, and there's nepotism, etc. But I think it's much less than the real world, and I think that, you know, the meritocracy of the internet is a very good thing. I'm a big fan of that.
Pestering us necessarily about this. Well, a lot of it is due to a vague law, or vague definitions thereof. So far, with this law, there's been some waffling around when it comes to our content creators like me, Linus Tech Tips, various other Canadian YouTubers, technically considered broadcasters. And it's not just us.
Well, they clearly are. They are clearly broadcasters in any shape or form. I mean, like, there's no way that they wouldn't be considered broadcasters. I think that's just common sense. Disproportional representation is not representational of the actual populace. Well, I don't think that you have I don't think that there's never going to be proportionate representation of the populace. So, like, that just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in any... Like, for example, like, most people in the NBA are over 6'5". Most people in the world are not over 6'5". So, the idea behind that is just, like, it doesn't make any sense as soon as you actually apply it to any real situation.
It could be people like XQC, if he was streaming from Canada.
Yeah.
Or so on and so forth. People like Trainwrecks, who I believe streams from Vancouver. Now, of course, when it comes to this notion, it's a bit hairy, okay?
Yeah.
But to understand where the real fear of God comes in this situation is that concept of Canadian content. Now, I personally have seen this as mostly a money-related move and a way to keep these legacy companies alive that are able to...
I feel like that's probably what's happening. I think that, and this is my very uneducated take on it, but if I follow people moving and working in their own self-interest, what logically makes sense to me is that the large legacy media companies are basically, well, not basically, they're lobbying the government to effectively create handicaps for them and effectively create ways that their content will be shown over other people's content. They're effectively trying to legislate a competitive advantage in the market. That's probably what I think is happening, but I don't really know this.
Milman the Great.
Lobby the government.
I'm just guessing.
Companies like Rogers, Bell, Canadian broadcasters. Now, on the internet, there's been a lot of talk about misinformation, and there's been a lot of talk about censorship, so to say. And I want to say this is partially true and partially not. Rather, this is not the focus, in my opinion, but this is unfortunately a byproduct of the vague laws we mentioned earlier regarding...
No, I think that it is purely just something that these companies are trying to push to get a competitive advantage in the market. That's it.
And content creators being not clearly defined under this act. Now, one of the things that I saw on the internet that really set me off was this, okay? Now, this is a statement, I don't know whether this is a troll, but this is, the fact conservatives are vehemently against Bill C-11 is all the proof I need to support it. Again, it's like I said earlier when it comes to politics. I don't consider myself a conservative, but I'm one of those people where, like, listen, okay? When it comes to a political side, you might, if you're aligned, like, for instance, if I'm aligned left, all right, there's going to be 100 topics, okay? There's going to be 100 topics regarding finances, regarding broadcasting, so to speak, in this case, and then you get to serious stuff like gun control, abortion, you name it. You're probably not going to 100% agree with one side. You might align heavily towards one side, but this kind of a statement just sends me off to the point where it just shows me, it literally reads to me like I don't want to critically think. As long as this side that I've known to be a bad side, I'm just not going to agree with anything they say. Okay, simple as that.
I mean, I don't know if they have this over in Canada, but what they have here is you can literally just vote for your, you can just vote for whatever, I was going to say faction. It is faction. You can vote for your faction. You can do faction-based voting. So, like, if you're a Democrat, you vote for everything Democrat. If you're Republican, you vote for everything fucking Republican. And that's it. You don't even know the names for who you're voting for. You don't even know anything. You're just automatically voting for anything that's part of this idea and or that this party is approving of. So I view this just to be the exact same, just in the opposite way. Now, I think that being contrarian is just as mindless as being a sheep in the first place, because both perspectives are not, they're both created with something that is not evaluating the situation. These are both you're doing something not because you have evaluated what you're looking at and making an educated decision on it. You are just doing whatever the opposite or whatever you are supposed to do is. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this.
I don't believe 100% of what a conservative side would say, but in this case, all right, there's some things where I can kind of go, yeah, all right, this is where you can absolutely meet in the goddamn middle, especially when it comes to improper definitions of the law. Now, is this act necessarily towards censorship? I'm going to say it is not, simply due to the fact that...
Well, it is censorship, but it's competitive censorship. It's not censorship in that you can't say how many, you can't say there's only 2 genders, right? That's not the kind of censorship he's talking about. It's just basically companies getting a competitive advantage.
When we talk about things like censorship, censorship is like, obviously, hey, we want to get involved. We want to stop this person from stating something. You know, we want to basically cut this person's speech. Okay.
Yeah.
In this case, it's more about maintaining control for a lot of the companies involved. Now, obviously, when it comes to Canadian content, who properly defines that, right? Like, is there laws around it? There's plenty of laws and regulations. The problem is for the average YouTuber, these are not laws and regulations.
I feel like you could easily define Canadian content by people that pay taxes in Canada. Like, if Canada is your primary residence and you're paying taxes there, I feel like that's fair. But again, these companies will always like cut it up. It's like gerrymandering, right? Or like they'll make it to where like all of the poor you know, states or the poor districts in a state are like put together with the rich districts to dilute their vote. Like they're always gonna try to completely fucking, you know, like finesse this and rig it. It's always what it's gonna have. It's always what this is gonna happen.
They can feasibly handle as they're producing content. For a lot of people making YouTube videos, it's a one-person show. Sometimes you'll have an editor, sometimes you'll have producers. Depending on the size and scale of your production, you might have more than 1 or 2 people. I, for instance, contract out to editors if I need to, all right? Simple as that. The only thing on my channel that's done by other people is things like sponsorships or all the boring back-end stuff. I literally do all the sourcing of content. I literally decide what I want to upload, I produce it, edit it, and upload it, and that's pretty much how things go.
There it is.
So under these laws, under CanCon laws, if you ever worked in film and television, you have to understand that there are legal teams literally involved to help you decide if your content that you create is eligible for Canadian tax credits or the Canadian content exemptions. That means who you hire, who's on your team.
What you have to understand is that the laws are written by mostly lawyers. And so it's like, I mean, if we didn't have these laws, like, what would the lawyers do, right? And so we kind of have to have the laws, because if we don't, then the lawyers aren't going to have anything to do.
What kind of content you're producing, you name it. Now, for a lot of these old school companies like Rogers, Bell, or really the Canadian broadcasters, they've had these situations in place for over decades. Okay, so for them, when this law or these bills or these regulations pass, they'll easily be the ones on YouTube that are given priority. And why do I say given priority? Well, because this law wants to specifically delve into the actual algorithms for YouTube Canada. So a lot of the Canadian YouTubers right now, most YouTubers, all YouTubers on the platform are all part of the algorithm. So the algorithm for YouTube specifically picks who you would watch, who you are most likely to watch. So for instance, if I show up in your recommendations, it's probably because you've been watching my content or you've been watching content very similar to mine from other channels. YouTube's whole goal is to find the content exactly for the user out there.
That would make sense.
What this law hopes to do is push up Canadian content for the Canadian viewers.
Yeah, it's subverting the algorithm. It's subverting what people would naturally want to see in favor of something that this bill thinks you should see.
Specifically, if you're in Canada watching content, I won't show up in the recommendations, but a larger Canadian broadcaster, okay, their channels might show up, because as far as the YouTube Canada algorithm goes, they're true Canadian content. I don't know if I have to tattoo the fucking Canadian flag onto my face, or just have logos everywhere. I don't know. But the point is, all the Canadian content creators are going to be on completely unequal footing. The only channel that may possibly stand it would be Linus, simply because that organization is large enough.
Yeah, he's
but I
pretty
think
big.
even they would have issues. The thing about C11...
they're not writing this law for Linus. They're writing this law for a corporation that is in a big gray building.
The thing about this bill is it's literally designed to help protect a dying media, dying legacy media, okay? Television companies have been fucking circling the drain for the last several years.
Yeah, and I think that that's good. I don't like this idea that the government should bail out people that are holding on to a dying medium. I don't like this unless it's providing some sort of like civil service or something like that. Well, I don't think television's providing a civil service. I don't think that's the case at all. I think also like most news agencies are, you know, they're syndicated in many other ways, whether it's online, on radio, or something like that, on YouTube itself. So yeah, there's a reason why it's called legacy media. It's the same reason why we don't have the government trying to subsidize you know, people using, I don't know, like old fucking cars and like really old shit, and using like coal and shit like that, like really old stuff that people used to use like 300 years ago. At a certain point, you kind of have to let the market advance and decide for certain things. Yeah, muscle cars, stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it's political service. You need to let the market evolve. And you can't let these large companies hold the market hostage and hold the progress of society hostage just because they have a lot of money to make the government do something. Yeah, it's a free. Yeah, I'm a generally a free market believer. Now, not in all cases, of course, right? You need regulations, but in general, I think this is the trend.
This is like a last-ditch effort to have some relevancy for them in a emerging online marketplace.
Yeah.
Now, where the censorship comes into, and this is a real important point, this is why I kind of said it was half true, is because of these vague laws and the byproduct of, let's say that somebody in Canada wants to cover a political event, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this is something that kind of already happens on YouTube to begin with. If you look up anything that's like, anything that's controversial, so to speak, it'll always be like news organizations being number one. But specifically for a Canadian creator, they may get suppressed in the algorithm, all right, if they're not Canadian enough. Let's say a Canadian top broadcaster.
Well, it's just, I mean, like, let's just use the common sense litmus test, okay? Like, let's just, the common sense question. Do you really think that you're going to get promoted over a multi-billion-dollar legacy media company? If there's a law that's being created that was probably lobbied by the legacy media companies, no, you're not. It's not going to happen. They're going to get promoted over you. Obviously, that's why they paid the money to have the law made. Duh.
A video on a controversial subject or a news topic. And then you've got a YouTuber who uploads their topic. Regardless of what that YouTuber is, if their content isn't CanCon enough, Canadian content enough, then they may be suppressed in the algorithm.
Right.
It's something that YouTube has told us about if they have to algorithmically make these changes to comply with the law. Now, at the end of the day, all right, I think...
Yeah, it's pay to win. It's unironically, it's fucking pay to win. It is.
We've covered a lot of tangents. I think we've covered everything we really need to. There's a couple solutions to this. Obviously, I've gotten involved with the politics. I've tried doing what I can. I've written serious letters to whoever I could, whether they have been read, whether they have been addressed, whether anybody will take any of my fucking words into account over the big giant company.
Well, they're not going to take your words into account. You should have stapled a $5 bill behind your message and then put it in a letter, and then maybe you probably get a response out of that. Maybe a $50 bill. You gotta think about it the smart way, okay?
Is out there, that remains to be seen. But as far as I'm considering it, Canada might not be my home for too long. All right, simply due to the fact that if laws like this pass, YouTube is an important thing for me. I do want my content to reach the average amount of people, and if that means me moving down to Texas,
yep,
Nevada,
there it is. Hell yeah, brother.
For instance,
goddamn right.
U.S. area where these laws aren't a norm, then that would be great. That would be something I may have to end up looking into. Now, that doesn't mean that I want to move down to Texas, California, or Nevada, or the states in general. I very much love my country, Canada. Unfortunately, the political atmosphere of Canada does not reflect me or millions of its creators at all. Now, if you agree with this law, you probably have some very, very deep-rooted reason for it, but generally everyone that I've spoken to in the Canadian side of...
What you have to understand is that the people that are voting for the laws don't understand them. And the next thing you need to understand is that most of the people that were pushing the laws, the politicians, also don't understand them. Now, the people that do understand them are the policy writers and the companies that are paying the politicians that pay the policy writers. Like, those are the people that actually understand what's going on. So, yeah, the people that are voting, like, it's the same thing as, like, I remember whenever this was in, like, the last election, everybody was amazed that, like, Joe Biden started getting a lot of votes. Because they're like, well, how could Joe Biden get all these more votes than Bernie? Well, it's because fucking Joe Biden was the vice president for like 8 years or some shit. Everybody knows Biden's like, oh, Biden, oh, I know him. Oh, yeah, sure, let's vote for him again. What is he about? I don't know, but remember how good it was when we had Obama? Like, yeah, okay, all right, let's do it. They don't even fucking think about it. They don't care about, like, oh, well, you know, his position saying, you know, something racist that he said 30 years ago. They don't even know what that is. Yeah, they probably agreed with them back then. So yeah, you've got to keep in mind, like, a lot of the people that vote are really, really dumb. They don't know what they're voting for. They have no idea. That's just what happens. And so, like, yeah, a conversation with a person like this, most people on the internet think it's stupid. And most people on the internet were basically like anybody but Biden. But look where we're at. It's because the internet is not the real world. It's not reflective of the overall population. That's just simple. That's what it is. It's just that simple.
Of content creation, regardless of political spectrum, has all but unanimously said this is wrong. This is bad. This is just outright outlandish.
Everybody's against
Look, at the end of the day, we're part of a global village. Okay, Canada is part of the rest of the 100+ countries in the world.
Yes.
We are all competing on the same level as everyone else. We don't need laws and regulations to protect Canadians, okay, or Canadian content, or the marginalized voices. The marginalized have never had a bigger voice, thanks to social media, than currently the times that we are living in. They don't need to be on big, massive television stations. They don't need to be part of big, massive news organizations. Now that anybody can pick up a smartphone and express their voices and concerns and be algorithmically delivered to everyone as they possibly can. This law and the vagueness of it only hurts the creators, and it hurts people in the online spectrum. And it serves only to protect the few companies that are part of dying broadcasting and dying media brands. But you know,
of course, that's what it is. These companies are rich. They've got a lot of money, and they just throw their money around and make people vote how they want. It's that simple. Yeah, I mean, I think that's clearly what's happening. It's obvious. There it is. This guy thinks algorithms don't have a biased tune. I think that it's one thing to know that the algorithms are going to be biased, but it's another thing to have it mandated by the government. And mandated by the government in a biased way. One is subversive, the other one is overt.
What? Politics is one of those things that I honestly can never change. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to relax. Hopefully, this bill gets shut down at some point, but if it doesn't, well, Texas, here I come, I guess. But you know what? I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna record some Resident Evil Village DLC, and I'll probably have that uploaded as like a 3-hour block. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and I'm out.
Well, that fucking sucks. Yeah, that really fucking sucks. If that's what's going on, man. I had no idea about this. Hope this backfires spectacularly for the Canadian government. Well, that won't happen. The problem is that, and this is the one thing that a lot of governments really kind of rely on, is they rely, and make sure to give it a like, give them a sub if you haven't already. I don't know why I'm actually not subscribed to this channel. Like, I've watched this guy's videos, Mudahar's videos, for fucking like over a year now, probably 2 or 3 years. They're actually pretty good, they're well thought out, and it gives a pretty balanced perspective on things. It's something that's not as common nowadays. So, yeah, make sure to do that. Bring him to Austin. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're looking for a place to move, Austin is a nice place. And the fact is, like, describing politics nowadays as a team sport is spot on. Yeah, it's like everybody fucking knows that. That's the thing. I feel like everybody feels that way, or at least a lot of people do. And, again, like, these types of people, like, they're doing pay to win. It's that simple. They're doing pay to win to push their ideas and their company above other people and individual creators. It's that fucking simple. Yeah, no, I don't want lefties in Texas. I feel like I feel like a lot of people that think that they are conservatives probably aren't as conservative as they think they are, especially in the context of like maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that. Like, for me, I would say, like, on the conservative liberal spectrum, I'm probably 80% liberal, 20% conservative. You know, I'm a big gun rights guy and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of that. But, you know, other stuff I'm definitely much more liberal with, etc. So I'm way more conservative than liberal. Yeah, I think that's okay. It just, again, my perspective on most things is to just leave people alone and let people make their own decisions about their own life. I think obviously there are clear cases where this can't happen and where this is a problem, but in general, that's where I try to fall off on that side of the fence. The Diablo 4 team is doubling down on choices for every class. Alright, here we go. I'm more happy right now about where Diablo 4 is than I was whenever it got announced. I feel like everything that they have said about the game, everything they have announced, everything they've talked about has been good. Wow.
So we started with a couple of classes, and we had some really cool ideas for class mechanics that would be specific to those classes. And it proved to be very compelling, not just in terms of the gameplay of the class, but also, you know, if you're playing a barbarian and then maybe you're grouped up with a sorceress, and the sorceress is using her class mechanic, it really, you look at that and you're like, oh, well, there's lots of really interesting gameplay there that I could check out, you know, in the future, maybe on a future season or something like that. And so we really wanted the classes to shine in their own ways and differentiate from each other. And then,
so it's basically like making each class different so people want to go back and do playthroughs with different classes. I think that's kind of what Elden Ring does. People want to try and play, you know, like with a magic build, you know, a melee build, a bleed build, etc. I think as long as the gameplay is good, then people will do this. It's the same as what they do with PoE too. You know, like every league, most people play something a little bit different.
Also, it goes back to that aspect of choice. Like when we look at the class mechanics, we try to design them in ways that increase the number of meaningful choices and ways that you can customize your character. So if you look at the Necromancer, for example, right, the Book of the Dead allows for players who, you know, the Necromancer is a core part of Diablo as a franchise, right? It's this really cool summoner class that ends up being really fundamental to gameplay. You can approach monsters in a totally different way with all of your minions, like getting in the way of projectiles, tanking monsters. You get this really cool fantasy of being this sort of general of the dead. But there are lots of different ways that people have played Necromancers in the franchise, right? You've got people who enjoyed playing Necromancers in Diablo 2, where they're kind of overseeing the battlefield and their minions are doing all of the combat. You've got this is a more action-packed Necromancer of Diablo 3, where you're like you're really sort of commanding your minions more directly. And you've got players as well who want to play this sort of dark caster fantasy, but aren't necessarily attached to the army aspect of it, even though that's a big draw of the Necromancer.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's the same thing with PoE, right? You have people that like playing like carrying golems. You have people that like playing skeleton mages. People that like playing summon raging spirits. You know, they're all zombies, or they're not zombies. They're all minions, but they play much differently.
Explosion is cool, just in general.
Absolutely, yeah. And who doesn't want to explode corpses, right? So when you look at the class mechanics, we designed Book of the Dead to allow players to customize their Necromancer to speak to that class fantasy.
Oh, that makes sense. I like that.
Sacrifice your minions. You can adjust which ones. Like, I really want to have a golem, but I don't want to have skeletons. I want to have skeletons, but not a golem. I want to have the biggest army I can.
Yeah.
And there are trade-offs and interesting choices that can be made all through that.
I think that the nuance of that is really in the numbers. Because if the numbers say that golem is good and skeletons are bad, then no one's going to play skeletons because it's bad. Some people will, but like 90% of people will play golem. And how do I know that? Because this is exactly what happens in Path of Exile. Is that one league, it's like, you know, like fucking somebody makes a video and it's like, carrying golems. This is all you need for carrying golems. And I this is what I did one time. And you know, like that cold iron spike, that fucking, it gives you like +3 to like all physical skill gems. Well, this weapon was like 15 chaos orbs, which is like 15 silver, let's say, in the game. And then it turned into being, I think, like fucking 70 or like 1 exalt, 2 exalts. which is the equivalent of going from like 15 silver to 1 or 2 gold. It like quadrupled in price. It was insane because everybody saw that and everybody was playing it.
Don't reinvent.
So it needs to be, oh, it's Divine now. Yeah, you're right. Back then it was Exalts. It's all about balance. Like, this is a great idea, but balance decides whether this is a good idea or not.
And it's interesting that it's like, to me, it's around adding depth without trying to add too much complexity. You know, you look at the Sorceress one with the enchantment system, it's incredibly powerful to have the ability for different skills fire based on what you're doing, whether it's like you're bringing down a blizzard every 10 seconds or your certain lightning is coming out of you or those sorts of things, but they're kind of in a way a passive ability. I don't have to trigger it. It's triggering based on either a condition or
it's like
based on time. And similar to the Necromancer's Book of the Dead is allowing you to customize and configure your army. It's not adding complexity necessarily to, oh, I have to worry about how I control differently. And so it makes things richer and more customizable, because now even if I'm a fire sorceress and you're a fire sorceress, the fact that what we put into our chant slots could make it very different in how we play and how we build upon that. And
well, that should matter. That's absolutely, yeah, you should give people you shouldn't, a successful balancing is whenever everybody is able to play multiple things. Somebody in chat said balance is boring. No, it's not. Balance is the opposite of boring because you can play more than one thing. Everybody who thinks balance is boring is sitting there playing classic World of Warcraft on their Fury Warrior using the exact same gear as every single other Fury Warrior in a raid. There's 12 of them, and then there's also 12 other rogues doing speed runs with the exact same strat over and over and over. That's what's fucking boring, is whenever some ability or something is so powerful that it just eclipses everything else, and it's so much better that if you're playing competitively or you care about your performance, you either have to make this decision or you're handicapping yourself in a substantial way. No, balance is not boring. I guarantee you it's not. Whenever one thing is better than everything else, you take away choices because everybody who cares about their performance will feel like they have to go with that choice.
It gives us access to like a couple more skills, which normally you'd be limited by your skill bar. And so that notion of that each class has a way to go deeper into the class fantasy and do it in a way that doesn't mean like, oh, now I have 6 more buttons I have to press or whatever. Like, it keeps it deep and interesting and custom without overwhelming you.
Yeah, I like
that. The skill trees have evolved dramatically over the course of development, I would say.
We're on number 4.
That would make sense.
Many iterations. And a lot of it has come, you know, one of our strategies here has been to like really share as much as we can with the fans as often as we can. So we've gone out with and talked about like, here's where our skill trees are in our, you know, in various like our log updates and like when we go to show off the game. And we've gotten lots of feedback like, I want to have more choices, or, you know, I want to have lots of other options. And so out of that have come like a number of revisions to the skill tree, both for
oh, there's going to be revisions to the skill tree every patch. I mean, that's what the patches are for. Like, personally, I enjoyed playing with like the skill tree in WoW, the new skill tree that they did. I think it's pretty good. Now, are there things that are overpowered, and are there going to be meta builds? Yeah, there are. But whenever I was looking at everybody, every single person wasn't playing the exact same thing. And I think that's good.
Making it clear how you can progress through it, making it work for new players, and ways to increase the depth. And that's where we get into the Paragon system, you know, which comes online as you level up and get into the higher levels. And we've really tried to hit that sweet spot where we're providing all of the opportunity for choice, while not overwhelming players who, you know, are looking at this big map of skills and you know, asking where to start, right?
I love theory crafting. Like, that's one of the things that draws me to these types of games is, how do I make a build? How do I set up skills? How do I make things work together? And you want a lot of depth there so that you have a lot of choice, so we're not just making the same build all the time. Like, we're both fire sorcerers, so we know exactly what skills we're using.
That's true.
So you want enough choice there that you can kind of customize it, make it feel unique to yourself, but not, there's games where you would go into it and you go like, oh, that's way too complicated. Just go look up a website. Tell me what.
So he played PoE, and that's what he's talking. He's talking about Path of Exile right now. It's not there aren't games out there. He's talking about Path of Exile. Yeah, and this is true. Like, he's absolutely right that there are a number of people that play Path of Exile, and they see the skill tree, and then they open the Atlas tree, and then they open the fucking the Ascendancy, and then they're like, oh, what's this Pantheon thing? And it's like, what's Cluster Gems? Oh, so you can customize the skill tree on top of that. And then, oh wow, there's this other fucking thing, and then there's your Atlas. It's like, oh my god. So yeah, it's extremely complex. But I think that Diablo 4 should not be complex like PoE. And I don't think PoE is bad because it's complex. I think it should be a little bit simpler, to be honest. I think it's too much at this point, because like 10 years of, you know, development and nuances. I'm really looking forward for PoE 2. But at the same time, I think that Diablo can be that simple game. Like, remember Gauntlet Legends, Gauntlet Dark Legacy? That game was fucking awesome. And it was so simple. It probably had less abilities in it than Diablo does. But it was a fun game. So I don't think that the more complicated the game is, the better the game is. No, this is stupid. I think that if the gameplay is good, Diablo can be the new Gauntlet.
I have to put in, I'll print, you know, the old days, and I'm old enough, I used to print it out and bring it to my thing and go like, okay, put a node here, put a node there, you know. And
I have these in binders downstairs.
I was just making somebody else's build because the way you made a build was so complicated. I couldn't feel like I could own the theory crafting. And that's, I think, a line that we've been walking, is trying to make sure that you have lots of choices, both active and passive skills, but is still sort of grokkable, that you can go into.
I think it's also that, like, giving players decisions that, like, whenever you read what it does, it's understandable. And I think one of the worst examples of something being understandable is more versus increased in Path of Exile. More is a multiplicative scalar, increased is just additive. So let's say you have 700% damage and you have a 10% increase, now you have 710% damage. But if you have 10% more, that's 770%, a bonus of 70% damage. It's fucking massive. So this is not communicated in the game. Now, obviously, you can look this up. You'll figure this out playing the game. But you want to have as few traps as possible like that. You want to have as few things that the player cannot easily test out for themselves and see, oh, I see how this works. Okay, this is less damage. So yeah, it's too much math. Well, it's not too much math. It's just that it's not... It's not immediately understandable by a person just by looking at it. What's wrong with traps? Well, because they're not fun. A trap is something that you should learn. Let me think of a way to put this. A trap is something that you should accidentally fall into. If the game puts a trap and you don't know it's a trap and you still fall into it, it's not your fault, it's the game's fault. Does that make sense?
Recraft yourself, and you can still create your own build. And I think as a player, like when I first came to the D4 skill tree, I felt that notion of that, what I talked about with the equation of that progression of D2 is, I really feel the D2 skill tree, that notion of inherited, you know, there's an inheritance there from skill to skill, that you can take certain skills that impact other skills, and so you can kind of build on top of them the way that you used to be able to do in D2. And so I think that's really that notion of that, the richness of the progression that was in D2, I feel that richness in D4.
That's good.
You talked about skills, connecting to other skills and building off of them. That's another area where we've gone through a lot of iteration, right, to make those connections clear. Because you don't have the connection where, you know, a skill is literally below this other skill and you must take 1 point in this and then that you saw in D2.
Yeah.
But you have all of these sort of natural connections between things like this skill causes bleeding and this skill benefits from bleeding. And so we've built this skill tag system. We've authored this ability to search the skill tags so you can highlight nodes that are...
Yeah, a lot of games have this. I mean, WoW has this with achievements. Path of Exile has this. Yeah.
Related to that, and so you can sort of see how these things are interconnected and sort of assist the player in like,
that's
oh,
good.
There's some really cool interactions here to check out.
Yeah, give me all the skills that have bleeding in it, or would benefit bleeding, and then you go, oh, okay, I didn't know that one was helpful.
Yeah.
So you can respec point by point. You can directly in the skill tree for gold, and that gold cost ramps up at some rate as you level up. So as you more clearly define your build and like get more things that are associated with it and supporting it, it becomes a little bit more expensive to respec, but still doable. So those choices have meaning. And at the early part of the game, it's very, very inexpensive, very small gold cost. So if you feel like, oh, like I'm gonna try this skill, like, oh, I didn't like that skill, I'm gonna try this skill, or like, oh, that skill looks exciting.
I think that what they should do is they should just make it to where you can respec whenever you want for free. I think that would be good. I've never seen a value in making it to where you have to spend gold. Like, my experience in a video game has never been improved by not being able to respec easily. For example, in Classic WoW, I didn't play the game as much because I didn't want to respec all the time to play PvP or to play Fury Warrior in PvE or you know, to play tank or something like that. Like, it's just not fun. It's like conduit energy. See, it's not a meaningful choice to have to just sit there and spend gold on something because you made a bad decision. I think that PoE does this in a bad way too. In my opinion with PoE, I think until you finish the campaign, respecing should be completely free. Like, for new players, it's like, oh, you made a shitty build and your build doesn't work anymore and you're hard stuck in Act 6. Great, well, go respec everything and try something totally different. Every time that Blizzard has tried to go for a meaningful choice in a game, all they've done is make the game worse. Please do not make the game worse for some amorphous, ephemeral idea that nobody can even really nobody can even quantify, nobody can really even explain why it's meaningful that you have these things, because it's not really meaningful. It's, number one, it's a video game. Number two, you can respec. It's just a waste of fucking time. Like, stop wasting the player's time. I think that you should be able to respec for free whenever you want. That's the way I feel about it. But they need systems to delete gold? No, they don't. You just have seasonal resets that happen. And also, if you can't trade gold, the odds are the gold farming in the game won't matter that much. Yeah, no, you don't. It doesn't even make sense. Bad take on this one. No, I understand it. I understand this way better than you do. Trust me. I've played a lot of these fucking games. And every single one of these games that I've played Path of Exile for 10 years. I played World of Warcraft for 15 fucking years. I know what I'm talking about, and every single fucking time that you add in some prohibitive respec cost, all you do is make the game worse. You're not doing anything else besides that. Yeah, respec costs just encourage people to use cookie cutters. Yes, and that's actually a really good point, is that if you increase the amount of cost and the amount of the amount of meaningful choice there is in the game, people will be more concerned about making the right meaningful choice, and they won't play the game for themselves. They won't try to figure it out on their own, because if they do it wrong, then they're gonna have to pay a bunch of money to undo it. So, like, not only do you make a mistake, but now you're being punished for it. So there's just no reason to do this. People defending Goldsing on character customization, we're fucked, pack it up. No, it's just people defend every bad game design decision. It's nothing surprising or nothing special. Yeah, it makes the game more elaborate. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, man. It's fine. Basically stifle any creativity and experimentation. Exactly. It's totally brain dead to have a respec clause. Yeah, just get rid of it, man. Fucking get rid of it. It makes the game worse. It just makes people feel bad for making bad decisions, and it makes people not want to try things and do experiments. Stupid people defending stupid game decisions. Yes, what a surprise. Don't punish people. Yeah, stop fucking making games that punish people for playing them. It's just so fucking cringe to me. I hate it.
Try this, right? And you can go back and forth really freely. And you can also do full respec at any point as well. So, you know, a lot of as you build out the skill tree, you have things that unlock based on other nodes that you've chosen. So we spent some time making that as smooth as possible, and that's where we ended up in the skill tree itself. Like you know, press one button to...
Yeah, I mean, these are a lot like the Warcraft skill trees. Whenever you really break it down, it seems like they're kind of the same, and it's like, you know, the pick one or the other type thing, sure. Yeah, somebody said, by the way, somebody mentioned that this is an extreme casual take. That's because this is an extreme casual game. Anybody that's not a casual is already playing Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, or something like Undecember.
My ancestor
They're already, and they're probably just playing Path of Exile, because that's the best one out. So, yes, of course it's for casuals. No shit.
To buy a skill and the other button to respawn that skill. So you really are just in that tree, like adjusting where all your points are. You don't have to like jump out and go to some other menu.
Bro, these guys jump out and go to some other menu. What kind of menu? Like an Atlas menu? Like, yeah, what other, yeah, which other one? What other menu are we talking about? Maybe a, you know, like a, the Divine Spirit menu, or whichever one, like it's not Paragons. I forgot even what they were called. Yeah, it's just so obvious. The heist menu, yeah, there
That's one of the things that's really different between D3 and D4 is like D3, once you get to a certain place, the difference between one build to another is like, I gotta go change my clothes. You know, because you're really focused on being set-based or very equipment-based, so that your build is kind of defined by your equipment more than anything else. So you're like, oh, I want to change from fire to ice, let me go change my clothes real quick, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's a very clear way of doing it, the kind of paper doll model, but one of the goals, the design goals, not to speak for Joe, but like one of the design goals is really to make your build feel inherent to your character.
Let me look at some of these abilities,
paper doll model, but
oh, this is Diablo 3, never mind.
Your build feel inherent to your character. And that's one of the things about the gold cost going up over time is that basically there's going to be a point in time where, I'll make up a number, but like say at level 50, there's going to be a point in time where you go like, oh, I would like to be a different barbarian, but it's too expensive to undo everything I've done. It's actually better for me to roll another barbarian and start a new one and go fresh.
And you think that's good?
And we wanted that notion that like with each level you progress down a character, you're kind of becoming more and more attached to it and getting more and more sort of settled with it, so that you're not just going, okay, I'm level 65.
Why would somebody want to go and replay the campaign they literally just did because of an artificial limitation that you designed? Why would, how would this make any sense?
And now I'm just going to change my clothes and become a completely different barbarian, you know? So cheap in the beginning, so lots of experimentation. Do I like fire? Do I like ice? Do I like lightning? Yes, no, turn it off. And I also love the fact that you can get...
The thing is that I can almost guarantee you that the way this game works, the gear is not going to be universal. If you have fire, ice, and lightning, there's probably some sort of fire damage or ice damage that you're going to get. So, and maybe not, but with a lot of these games there is. So there's going to be secondary effects that are better either way. Redo equals more gold equals more money? No, I don't think that's the case. They'll sell respecs in gold. There is nothing...
That's svima. Što ima, gospođo? Nema ništa. Još uvek se igra onaj... Kako se zove mozak, mi se tada... Marauders.
Da, da, dobro.
Viš?
A rekao, ajde kao ću igram Hunt da završim ovo. Nema ništa od toga, još 2 dana. Stao sam na 4. deo. Nikako mi se ne da zapalim neko. Još nosim 2 bon šarda ili bon šard sa zapaljivom municijom i neće. A da ubijem čoveka sa koncentrina bombi ili sa frag ili sa bilo šta, hoće. Da ga zapalim ne da. Tu igrao sa nekim likovima. Bez veze bacio, gde sam čuo korak i koncentrinu, ajde. Casual je bacio, ubi čovek. Casual bacim bombu, ubijem čovek. Al pucam, brate, iz Romera sa zapaljivim mečem njega. Majok.
Ništa od toga.
Ništa. Feniram ga, brate, sa zapaljivu municiju iz ovog bon šarda, samo jedan meč.
Zajebano. Nećemo tako. Auto save.
Igram bre, boj Banlord sam. Sad mi on.
Bannerlord. Jel to ono kao... Šta mu to dođe? Kao... I gdje je borba potez po potezi, tako to?
O ne. Imaš mu veliku mapu, tu se krećeš. Kao... Zavisi da li jašiš, onda vidiš pešice. Grada do grada.
Ja liči na Mountain Blade.
To je Mountain Blade 2.
Nego ja sam ga ponešao sa Banner Story ili tako nešto. Dobar sam, Bannerlord Story. Ono da je igraš sa vikinškim plemenima i kao šetaš ih iz jednog kraja mape na drugi i skupljaš ih. Bannerlords. Nije Bannerlord, kako se zove? Banner Saga, tako nešto. Banner Saga. Ili saga o Barjaku. O grupi tih vikinških kao plamena koja idu po tipa smatere, pa sam učito potez. Auf. Load. Dva, tri, jedan. 2, 3, 0. Jebate, pragazio mi je glupi scout koji radi minimum damage-a, jebote, ubije mi misionara, jao.
Dešava se.
Pa na početku igre te najlakše je da izguraš svoju religiju. A oni ne mogu da se odbrane.
S religijom mi je uvijek slabo bilo išlo.
Pa znaš zašto? Zato što možeš posle da sa religijom kupuješ jedinice.
Pa kupovao sam nego bre, slabo mi išlo s onu koju jao.
Da, pa meni se redano desi.
Kurac dala šinto.
Nebitno je ime religije, to je skroz nebitno.
Znam, bitno je ono što ti izabereš, kako će da se ponašaju.
Jesu.
Arapi su dobri za bog pare.
Ja sam sa onim Saladinom iz Arapskih Emirata, kad god igram s njim, znači kaplju pare, znači non stop.
I na peticu su bili dobri za pare.
recollection of heaven that uplifts our hearts and guides us to foreign shores. The great wave of Buddhism follows you, Shikan of Japan,
Minas.
Your people truly understand what it is to practice.
Ne znam da čitam, stvarno ne znam taj španski. Minas.
I portugalski.
Minas Gerais.
To se Žeras ovdje čita nešto.
Ne znam da izgovaram. Nije mi... To je najveći brod bio u tom dobu, ili tako?
Valjda.
Najveći ratni brod.
Jeste momci, šta se radi?
Desi Nenade.
Desi Nenade.
Čekam da mi dođe kapetan Wolf da iskupujem šlemovi, da ih pretvorim u metal sheet, da završim misije. Ja sam kod Rozi kupio 3 stampa, završio sam misiju.
Bi to nešto ušifrao protiv mene, neka.
Ne bre, ne.
Ma znam, pričate o ovome. Znam, zajebam se.
Znaš koji mi je bolest, sam Gilgameš, brate. Sumer.
Naporan je kao vođe. A ne znam da li mi je gori kad igraš protiv njega, kad ti je on kao konkurencija.
Opet još jedan nož naš. Gdje si našao taj nož? A to je drugi deo od onog drugog dela. Od bajoneti 2 kuhinska noža. Kama je, nije to kama. Kama je, to je nož. Kama je kao...
Šta bilo što baš ti ne radi, nisam ti razumeo.
Ma ona kad je bila prezentacija AMD-ova, znaš. Si vidio?
Dobro, neću pipat.
Pa sam ti poslao transkript da pogledaš ako te zanima.
Koliko ti ona dala spela? A, dobro. Baš pričam sad Frost, igrao sam Hunt, na 4. sam stao etapu, ama neće, znači. Ubijam likove s dinamiti, iz bombe, koncentrine, ali da ga zapalim se, zapaljivom municijom nikad. I digo sam ruke. Ne radi. Tu ne radi.
Aj čekaj, gledam čujem tako mi pričaš nešto. Kaži.
Jedan čovjek kod mene da mi donese kupus. I priča mom ocu, kaže, ja se sjećam tvog oca, to je za mog dedu. Bio sam dete, još sam išao u školu, kupio sam burek i sedim pred poljoprivrednom poteklu i jedem. I kažem, moj sinko, tvoj otac.
Alo bre, koljač iz močvare, desi.
Kaže, tu sam, kaže, beži dete odatle, nemoj da jedeš ispred poljoprivrednog potekla. Ima da sva isparenja i svi otrovi izlaze napolje.
Tu je i čika Neš.
Tu sam.
A bre, čika Neš, gdje si bre?
Ej, teme. Kako je?
O, idemo. Samo ste...
Nemam pojma da ti kažem. Neke čudne stvari se dešavaju.
Nenade, tako da ti trebaš da ideš kod lekara da se proveriš malo.
Što?
Pa vidiš, radiš u takoj...
Nek cekne.
Zašto?
Pa nije baš zdravo poljoprivredno poteku da radiš.
Čuj, nije zdravo, ovo je perfektion, samo se nadiše malo i zdravije kod vremena.
Kakvi?
Perfektion je najjači otrov, znači kako je to ludilo otrov je. A znaš ti šta je to, ne?
Ne, šta je?
Pa neki insekticid, pesticid, šta je, brate, mili, plava tečna, mala bočica.
Perfektion.
Da, košta ko sam đavo je.
Prepučan.
To je takva otrovčina. Ne znam perfektion šta je, pa no. Mišković je Imperius gradio na perfektionu.
To je iz župe, vjerovatno.
U Delta-inu je, znači...
Kad je bio direktor župe i pokrao sve da.
Sad ću baš da im koja je aktivna materija.
To je ime, ja. Što kaže on?
Mada je to vjerojatno i zabranjeno već, čini mi ja to ne znam.
Ne, perfektiva.
Perfektion.
To je od BASF, BASF i...
BASF.
Aha.
Jo, BASF.
Znači, Imperiju je stavio.
Di metod. Nisam o to vidio nikada sad.
To se prodavalo po Blesu, ja sam nešto kratko bio tamo na ispomoći.
Njemička industrija župa Kruševac.
Bio sam nešto kratko na ispomoći u proizvodnji tog.
Dimetogal.
Znači, nerealno koliko je toga na dnevnom nivou išlo.
Ali znao te kude kamale.
Oni formulaši, oni su to iz granula kuvali. Oni nisu mogli da postignu koliko je mogla se spakuje i da se proizvodi.
Vjerojatno je to među vremenu izabranjeno.
Pošto su neki klinci tamo, junkie, oni su to krali jebi ga koji navatali, jer su mi pričali kako kaže u trećinu cene kad daju pa su mirni mesec dana. It's absolutely marvelous. Gde nam je radio Lovčanac, nema nikoga.
Buhači
The Pantanal is the most complex...
Alo, radio Lovčanac!
To je najbolji otrov za insekte. Ali nema dugotrajno da je.
Najbolji otrov za insekte je mrežana operacija.
Insektima škodi, ali toplokrvnim životinjama ne. Mislim, bićima.
Došao pre neki dan jedan i traži mi kao otrov za mačke, ko što me to nema.
Sad strikninu kaže. Sve.
I da imaš, nemaš. Jesam pogodio?
Ne, to kupujete kučići, mačiće. Jedan došlo traži lanate, to je najžešći otrov koji postoji.
Kako?
Lanate. 1 gram toga, došlo samo i da ga pomiriše, kuće i gotovo. Ali to neće, svaki ozbiljniji apotekar to neće da ti proda bez potpisa nekog zaštitara.
Pa ovi kod mene bacili veterinari njihovo.
That they have said or done or that has been data mined or leaked that has indicated that in any capacity whatsoever. So for you to say that, you have every right to think that after Diablo Immortal, but you have to acknowledge that by believing that, you are ignoring every single bit of evidence that exists. Yes, yes, this is crazy. Every single bit of evidence has been disputing that. This lazy decision to overcome the problem of a respec? Yeah, exactly. What evidence? Okay. The fact that they have made statements multiple times saying that they will not have pay to win in the game. The fact that they have clarified those statements multiple times saying that they will not have pay to win in the game. The fact that they have responded to multiple comments and critiques, including my own, on Twitter and other resources, saying that there will be no way for you to earn player power or buy something on the store that you can sell in the game or anything like that in the game. So this is not something that they said in Diablo Immortal. The truth is that as somebody, this is my job, to sit around and listen to this bullshit. The fact is that Diablo Immortal made it intentionally vague what you can buy and what you can't buy in the game. They made very specific statements. They said you cannot buy gear in the game. You see what I'm saying? But with Diablo 4, they said you cannot buy player power. This is an all-encompassing statement. So Wyatt Cheng, whenever he said that you can't buy gear, he was telling the truth, but it was deceptive. You see what I'm saying? But in this case, unless they just outright lie, which could happen, they can't do that. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? Them selling a respec isn't player power. I think that it is. I think that most people would not like that. Well, overall, and then also there was the data mining. People got the Diablo 4 client. There was different types of surveys that were used, that were leaked, that were shown about like what would you be okay with and not okay with in the Diablo store. And all of these things, and all of these points of evidence, none of them have leaked anything about the game being pay to win. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that still think it's going to be pay to win. You still think it will be pay to win. And then when the game comes out and it's not pay to win, you're going to think to yourself, oh, well, they're just waiting to get us on the line, then they're going to make it pay to win. I do not know how much evidence you need to think that it's not going to be pay to win. And I'm not saying, like, for sure it won't be. But I think that with every single bit of evidence that they have showed and shared, that has been also shared, keep in mind, without their consent, and more importantly, against their consent, with like people breaking NDAs, not a single thing has come out about this game being pay to win. Not a single fucking one.
Defense is superior to opulence.
Asmongold dying on this hill? Well then stop trying to kill me on it because I'm fucking right. I'm fucking right. Yet? Of course it's yet. Yeah, I'm right. Listen, no you're not, yes I am. Absolutely. See, this is the thing, is that I've watched all of these videos. I've seen all of the fucking data mining shit. I've seen all of it. And people are like, no. No, it's gonna be pay to win. So you think it's not, it is. Yeah, it's gonna be pay to win. 100%. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. Clip it so you can react to it in 6 months after the game comes out? Why would I be stupid to think this if the game becomes pay to win in 6 months or a year, whenever the
Ja se izvinjam, ja se sećam lično prozvu. Nije do mene.
Znači, možemo te zovemo Shakira.
Ne. Mnogo samoglasnika. A. I onda ne čujem sve ostalo. Moj matori kad ide oko kuće, i onda razumeš, tu se svašta nešto čuje. I onda ja izađem i rekao, mene zoveš, koliko zovem?
Ja ne verujem. Pazi, 5 partija odigramo sve, uzmemo, pobijemo, iznesemo bounty, 6 nas prebiju. I odmah, ne, i odmah sam mu ja kriv i odmah izašli i odmah spavili.
ماذا فعلتم ليأخذ الله منكم؟
Mane, čudno nam je nije zvao danas.
Ja ga poslušao uzeo onaj u terminus i... Smeće bre, nam 6 metara ništa ubije.
To ti i dalje shotgun. To nije snajper, to je shotgun. I ostaće shotgun.
Ako uzmi dijagon brede i puci na 30 metara.
Može,
Ja sam
zapalit će čovjek.
bliže, brate.
Zapalit će čovjek.
Juče, znači popizdeo sam, brate. Ne zapalim ga, imam mislio da ga zapalim. I neću.
Dragom, bre, ti dobro to ih zapali.
Ne, nije tačno. Ja pucao likove s njim juče. Neće, znači imam jebenu misiju, neće.
Neće ni... Dragon, bre, ti ih zapali, jebi ga onda...
Ne.
Mora da ga pogodi dovoljno sačme.
Ili...
A brate,
Slušaj, možeš vapu da ga pogodiš da bi ga zapalio.
Jednom. Ide po peletu, po onom zrnu što ga pogodi od te zapaljive sačme. Mora da pogodi 2-3 peleta da bi se zapalio.
Mene kad čovjek prvi put putao s tim ja nisam znao što mi snašao.
Mene isto pucao, nije mi ništa skinuo.
I moraš mene na tom ja gledam, kurac evo ti šta je ovo.
Ali kad sam provalio eksplozivnu municiju na nitru, jao. Kako je to uživanje.
A shredder municija ima veći domet, znaš to? Taj one shot kill range.
Da.
Nisam to znao, dok nisam pogledao statistike neke. Čovjek je objašnjava. Vidio. Koji kurac.
Nenade, šta proizvodiš otrove, brate, ja?
Ilija, kakav ti je rezultat sa menjanjem kodeka?
Ti mi reci, pogledaj na YouTube-u moj kanal, pa mi reci.
Na YouTube?
Da, imaš na YouTube. Znak je S.W.Frost 1.
Baš me iznenađuje to ime da koristiš.
Baš i mene iznenađuje. Što možeš tako naći i na Facebooku i na Twitteru.
Faće buk!
Čak i tamo, kad bi ja se udostojio to da otvorim.
Stvarno.
Amber Heard izbrisao kao Twitter, kao...
Zbog?
Zato što je Elon Musk kupio Twitter.
I sad smo tužni. Ne to rekao, sad smo tužni svi šta.
Nobody cares.
Da. To je to.
Obodu care. Obodu care. Obodu care. Care.
And all I ask.
Jedu ti pare.
No bodu care.
Jesi, ova pička, ali je mozga bez.
Pička je kosmička, znači, nerealno kako. Baš nerealno kako je riba. U onom filmu 3 Days to Kill sa Kevinom Costnerom, tu je ne riba.
Ono treba da probaš jedno 15 puta, evo. Što više deci.
Znači, bolesno kako je riba.
Za koju pričate?
Pa ova bivša od Johnny Deppa.
Zamberku.
Ali kad Anna Brnabić kaže upoznala sam Johnny Deppa, rekao mi je da sam mnogo lepa.
Da, samo to rekao.
Najjače varijanta. Rekao mi je da sam mnogo lepa.
Ona da viče da je na nekog muškarca. Na nekog teandžu.
Ko zna kakav loš kokain je Johnny uzeo tada.
Kokain loš nikakav.
Dali mu speed umjesto kokaina.
Ne, heroin je loš nikakav.
Ma neki speed mešan sa deterđentom mu dali. Neki težak shit mu dali.
Здравствуйте, я царь Петр. Достойный правитель, подобный вам, должен ценить все самое изысканное. Любите ли вы искусство, подобно мне?
Igra malo pre Hunt.
Da.
Random mi na akrecu. Načo bossa, brate, i sad pucam po one jebene buriće vatrenu municiju, da napravim barijeru, da ne može narod da prolazi. I krene lik da me puca, ono kao, nemoj da pucaš, znaš, piše mi kao na engleski, nemoj da pucaš, nije ti ovo Call of Duty, bla bla bla, ja ušao unutra, bio asesvit, čeo da pucam onda po onim fenjerčićima da ga palim, brate. On i dalje nešto jede, govna. Onda sam znao.
John Kirby, I speak to the people of Australia as their Prime Minister. We seek sympathy.
Šaki, šta je bilo? Koki dolazi u 6, Šaki. Otežala pička ti materina. Taki mi je otežao.
Now that we have friendly...
Ваш народ достоин восхищения. Искусство, наука. Чего еще желать?
Ubio lika s bajonetom, ubio lika s dinamitom i pukao u lika i ubio me. I ideš u kurac s ovom igrom. Ali da zapalim ne mogu. S jednu čopavu u ruku 3 čovjeka ubije. Što znači
Ej,
da
oni ne
sam...
znaju da si ti čopan. Znaš za onog Grka što igra Hunt, što je
Why, man? Gle, ubi me lik, bre. Gangster.
Šta je sa tim likom? On je...
Gluv.
Kako igra uopšte?
Mogu ti pokazat klip kako igra. Igra s automatom, da ti i to kažem.
Fucking idiot. Don't revive him. Ubi me lik moj za ništa.
Šta je ga ubio ovaj vaš zadnji? Jel?
To je vjerojatno Rusi, oni su ovo...
Ovaj je neki gangster, da. Don't revive. He killed me for nothing, man. Let's go extract.
Those who in quarrels...
Bura crvena, sve se. Ovaj je veterli dobar iz hipa kad se puca.
Previše dobar ako ćeš. Ako ću iskreno.
Previše dobar za male pare.
Upravo to što si rekao, za nešto što možeš tako bez... Tipa kao staviš ga na bok i pucaš, jel tako ispada?
Da.
Za nešto što tako pucaš iz ruke, s boka malo je, znaš...
Opet, a?
Pa do 200 metara može lobanju da prosvira. Pa ti mi reci, jel opet? A na 30-40 metara bez da ga staviš na rame, možeš čovjeka da ubiš lagano. To ne može baš svaka puška u Huntu. Može Winchester koja radi malo štete i kilove ponekad. Ne kažem da je baš to...
Neki pušu bago jebote, ni 2 povodka i zapekate ne ubio čovjek.
A nije to bug, to je desync. Ti misliš da si ga pogodio, a on je već nestao.
Dobijem me hitmarker.
Nemoj me molim te pričati o hitmarkerima, ja sam tu ugasio da ne bi sebi mozak trovao s time. Da imam hitmarkera, da ništa se ne dešava. kad čujem da je jauknuo, imaš razlike kad čovjek, pogodi ga metak i kad umre, znaš, postoji razlika.
Ja sam tu i obesio, više neću ni da instaliram.
Nemoj da gledaš hit markera, to je laž. To ti igra laž.
Skoro sam ubio nekog lika, ne znam koja daljina bila. Trči, brate, iz Marksmana ove bre, Winchesterki. Headshot u trku. Samo sam čuo znaš splash kao.
Da, po zvuku. A znaš šta, ne znam po zvuku kad je headshot. Springfield. Nisam ti dao vremena da odgovoriš, odmah si ti rekao. Nikad nemam pojma da li headshot ili nije.
Glupi Čeh me ubio. Ti ga konjušarski me ubio.
Ste konjušarski.
Ne.
Tako još malo se pumpati. Napravio sam prvu gasnu elektranu onako, malo veći.
Tako da ćeš komoru da kažeš. Gasna elektrana u dvorištu?
U dvorištu je u Satisfactory.
Aha, ja rekao.
Ali mnogo veći populacija, mislim da ima 100... Stajes, 45, 60, 75, 50, 105 komada.
Čega?
105 onih gasnih elektrana.
To je neki mod, šta je to?
Nije bre.
Koje je gasne elektrane? Sad me zbunjuješ, u Satisfactory.
Benzinske bre, gasne.
Kad kažeš gas, ja odmah mislim na, znaš.
A meni to u mozak ide da to gas je, benzinski.
Misliš na gasoline, kad kažeš gas, jel tako?
Stavio sam na jednu onu što ima više onih kao... Gdje ti treba onaj kao... Pressor.
Dobro.
Vali 1350 kubika po minutu.
To sa onim jačim cevima, šta? Pošto cevi imaju limit, to znaš koliko može da...
Ja znam, instalirao sam mod za cevi. Ali ti imaš 5 ovih, onih kao što ima oko njega, i ti iz njih hvatiš. Ali svejedno, bez moda se ne isplati. Instalirao sam taj mod za MK3 cevi.
A inače igra nema MK3 cevi, jel tako? Ima samo onaj Mark 2.
MK2 je najviše.
Pa vjerojatno si...
Što je po meni glupo jer sve ovo stalo ima MK3, MK4, MK5.
Pa smatraju da ti ne treba toliko protoka, pretpostavljam. To je moja pretpostavka, znaš.
A mislim da niko nije toliko luda.
Što niko nije toliko lupa, ne, nego ću da razlačim cev na cev na cev na cev, razumeš? Cevi svuda.
I to radi.
Ma znam da radi, gledao sam ono kad čovjek pokazuje ti sve na YouTube-u gdje da ima 50 cevi kroz bazu. Pipe Town. Ti si nazvao moju bazu Kako si ono nazvao? Šarena, laža ili kako si ono nazvao? Zaboravim se. Špageti town. A ovo ti je rezanci. Cijevi svuda.
Your people truly understand what it is to practice balance, and even your finest samurai will be well learned and spiritually apt. Be strong. Embrace the divine wind.
Pa nemaš sve odmah. Također. On? Nikad. Otkud ti to?
Hello.
Hello?
Jel se ti to javljaš sa Durmitora, Orijena, Sinjajevina, odakle se javljaš?
A što činiš na Sinaju? Nema to.
Pravac, onda je na ostrog.
Šta imaš?
Lahor. Majka zebanci. Grad država Lahor. Dobro.
Lahora je grad u Indiji.
A jeli? Ne znam je li baš Indija. A samo je city state, pa sad ti ne gađaš.
Snake 8-eyed gas pog bones glitch live.
Daj si neurotiče. Svaki put kad kažem da si neurotiče, Milan se javlja.
Da se oženiš, a?
A niđe veze to nema s njim.
Što, demonice pucaju?
Pravac na Miraša i na Milana. Eto ti.
Pucati glas.
To je zato što je emotivno biće. Emocije su ga ponele. A mu puca glas. Potresa se.
A šta je čojstvo i junaštvo? Slušaj ti njega kako on zbori.
Šta je to puno? Šta? Ja hoću da povijem celokupne nadelja, kamo više nego. Na ovom svijetu ima mnogo ljudi, šta će nema više od 100 milijuna ljudi? Kakva zlata milijarda?
Nama treba drugi narod.
Bolji narod!
Treba wipe servera, mnogo laguje, mnogo cheateri.
Da. Imaš ljude koji se šetuju u admin modu. A šta mu dođe Putin? Admin. Power admin. A Nenad.
Nije, on je neki pro player. Nije pro player, on je... Njegov player dobro igra se. On je NPC.
Da, on je e-sports profesionalac.
Djevoljsko skroviše, šta?
Brat.
No, djevoljsko skroviše, ko što sam ti rekao.
The game comes out. I'm not stupid because I thought the game wasn't going to be pay to win whenever there was no reason to think that it was going to be pay to win.
You have shown remarkable growth.
There's having an opinion based off of impartial evidence, and then having that opinion is, oh, this is what's going to happen, and then something new happens. It doesn't mean that you're stupid for thinking the first thing. Oh my God! Some people are so fucking stupid. It's sad. Let's see if there's any actual good comments about this. Okay? No, you'll just be wrong. Being wrong doesn't make you stupid. Being wrong about something whenever new evidence is presented is not the same as being wrong about it at the time that you said it. You're stupid for believing in Blizzard still? That's fine. I've said this before. If you think that the game is pay to win, you are totally entitled to that opinion. But you have to acknowledge, if you believe that it is pay to win, that you have actively discarded all evidence.
Ma kako te oblast?
You have discarded all evidence, all information, everything to come to this conclusion. So yes, you can believe it's pay to win if you take in no evidence. Game companies have lied about this kind of thing before, but you're probably right. Of course they have lied, and there is a chance that Blizzard could lie. But expecting everybody to lie is just the same as expecting them all to tell the truth every single time, even despite other evidence. I think we should just wait to see what's going to happen, but there's no indication that the game is going to be pay to win.
And even your finest samurai will be well learned.
What are you talking about? There's plenty. Okay, oh, here we go. Bro, what are you talking about? There's plenty of evidence, like previous games. So if Blizzard does one thing in one game... So let me get this straight. So do you think, under that logic, that there's evidence in other games, if somebody told you that there's going to be a gem system in Overwatch 2 that makes Widowmaker's gun, if you have a 5-star gem, auto-aim for you during her ultimate, does that mean that it's just categorically true because they did this in Diablo Immortal, so they must be doing it in Overwatch? It's just so stupid. I can't imagine being so fucking stupid to think like this. It's sad. Here we go.
Skills through equipment that you can access the skills before maybe you would even be able to from a level perspective. And go, oh, I picked up this skill on my sword or my boots, and I'm going to go try it out and see if I like it or not. So I love that ability to go in and buy a skill and feel no regret and paying for it with in-game gold to get rid of it. But then, wow, once you get up there, you're level 90, you're going like, I think I'm just going to, I think I'm not going to try to spend a million, whatever it's going to be to undo all these skills. So I love that sort of sense of hardening cement. It's like over time, there's a sense of permanence that starts to happen the further deeper you go into that character.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit. I think that's complete fucking bullshit. There's no reason that you need to harden the cement of the character. This is a pointless metaphor that you invented in your mind that will end up wasting players collectively thousands of hours.
Even your finest samurai will be well loved. Oni su Kazakhstan, brate, im je bio poligon.
svemirski poligon.
Ma nije za nuklearne probe, bre. I sad dan danas mnogo deca ima sa manama se rađa. Sorry, man.
Rusi i Amerikanci su ti isti kurac. Samo malo drugačije upakovani.
A nije, Amerikanci su gori, brat. Amerikanci su ništavači veći. Što je točno.
Pošalji to na... Gdje si poslije? Da su ovako malo. Ghost.
At the southwest corner, a large...
Jebem ti ja... Ko je smišljao te pesme, majko? Aj, taj moj je bio...
Čekaj, ne, čekaj. Znaš kako je u kanju.
Čuti.
Budem kako sam uginuo jebem pamet.
Ja ne kanci, ja sam već kanci. Neću da vidim stane.
Vidi bro ovo bre, pa da li oni prate igru bre? Jo, majku vam jebe. Vidi ga brate, Cveti Tursko jebem u pičku da ti jebem. Turčin se zakopao, brate, ko zmija u pesak.
Kako se zakopao?
Nazovi koga hoćeš, ajde, igram. Samo da znaš, igram sa 1,5 rukom.
Da nemoj da ne pušavate čovjek.
Ti s jednom rukom igraš bolje nego Milan Žbunić.
Ja s jednom rukom ubijem 3 čovjeka, malo prilično. Vidi ga glupan. Pa ne približavaj nišan, jao mamu ti Tursku jebe. A? Ujebe. Imam spazam u levu ruku, Milane, mnogo sam ga drkao sam. Imam spazam u levu šaku već 2 nedelje. Nije od toga, nego od multipla skleroze, od osnovne bolesti, imam pa za to. Pa rekao sam ti tamo kada. Ma, džabe. lutku pijem kao mišić. Taurin nije loš. On kao za provodljivost nerada.
Ovo gledao sam, baš kad sam bio skočila vest, kao u Švajcarsku uz pomoć matičnih ćelija leče u multiplanerskih gledanja.
Aj mene na VMA terali, brate, ali to je sve pola. Može i da crkneš, može i da crkneš posle 5 godine. Nemam ja poverenje u naše lekare. Kad sam vidio onog lika što mu radili zamenu matičnih ćelija, kao ne znaš, radi ti sediš u izolovanom. Kad sam vidio šta je izolacija, brat, on sedi u sobu, vrata širom otvoreno i prolazi. Doktori, mi se šetamo, bolesnici drugi, jebe i vašu izolaciju.
Mene je doktor sa VMA, šta je on mene u 11 sati noću, povekuje sam ja oficir ili kao običan vojnik.
Šta si oficir? Šta bre?
Ja mu pošaljem poruku, objasnim mu sve cijelu situaciju. I ovo poželjeti ja da se ne javim nešto. I poslije 2 mjeseca opet iste poruke. Ja mu opet isto opišem situaciju.
To je neka provokacija.
Situacija.
Ma ne idem više gore, izneverili su. Kao, znaš, malo digli nog što ja nisam teo, sam odustao od matične ćelije. Pa, brate, moja odluka. Pa, neću da vam budem zamorac. Mogu, dajte mi pola miliona i ću budem zamorac.
A, ako preživiš, preživiš. APP.
Od kako sam primio, brat, onaj govno plavo, brat, onaj mitoksantron, da sam, od tad mi se stomak poremetio. I zadnji put kad sam zvao, znate, nemamo za vas lek, šupičku, materinu. Moja majka me napinje, a što ne ideš gore? Neću da idem, ako odem gore, ja ću da se posvađam. Sa svaka čast onom načelniku i sve to, on mi na dosta pomogu, s njim neću se svađati. To jes čovjek mi pomogao, su mi ostali. I bi. Kakav posao, ništa, ja primam penziju. Ma ne mogu više ništa. Zatim da bi uspupao.
Može preživjeti sa penzijom, Milane.
Survival igramo. Igramo se survival. Ećeš.
Od danas može preživjeti s penzijom. Ja splatam od penzije.
Ja mogu. Ja sam master of survivalist.
Ja mislim da je Ilija otišao. Nije tu Ilija.
Gdje sam otišao?
Gari.
Idemo na Mars.
Gdje smo toliko? Ostavio sam vidio preko, dok sam bio na poslu da vidim kako rade te elektrane.
I?
Bio mi se zadesio da ne stiže dovoljno te nafte,
dobro,
goriva, gasa, koje kurac već jebenega. I sad sam to popravio. Sad ću ti kažem koliko struje traje. Traje koliko? 39.000 megavata.
koliko megavata? 30.000.
39.000.
To ti gigavat. Tako da je što znamo struju. Giga ti je 10 na treći. To je Z gigabit.
Solid. 3060 grafika. Procesor bi trebao nov da uzem neki. Jer mi je ovaj petica 2006.
Ryzen, to je Ryzen, a? Ja mislim da je... Dobro, ono što Ryzen 1600 nešto što je nudio sinoć, Boris.
Ma to sam bre uzeo bre za neke jeftine pare mi skočilo. 10, nije 10, za 14.000 sam bio. Bez garancije, naravno.
Funkcioniše, to je bitno.
Brate, već treća godina. A na drugi kompjuter sam stavio ovu. I 10.60.
Ti si novu kuću. To ubijeda neko za kompjuter. Ovo se funkcioniše, to je dobro. Da, treba da se naprave još dve ovakve. Ako prvo kad sam otpočeo u ovom Satisfactory, to nije normalno.
koliko li ima igrača na Marude? Pogledam. Komunikacija. 1200. Či igraš Marudera nešto?
Ja sam da završiš ovdje.
Dobro, da ne počinjem sam.
Znači liga može jednom dopati, pa ću sjeti. Evo, imam mnogo, sam započeo, nisam završio, sve sam se navikan da ne.
Os.
addition to bring...
Koliko metaka se ispucat u pravcu neprijatelja na sled. Kako pogodi, pogodi.
Стрелковое вооружение, гранатометы, минометы, но наши бойцы уверенно держат оборону и не отходят ни на шаг. Находимся на Авдеевском направлении, на одной из позиций. Вот та задача обороны. Не дать прорыву противника в город. Мы сейчас слышали, по нам работал ПКН, наверное, да? Я так понимаю, это...
Brate, skinovi za puške, ono.
Чисто мое
U
субъективное
realnosti.
мнение, стоят камеры, которые, помимо, которые направлены на нас.
Veruj kako farbal.
Командование, то есть как они проводят. Ну, то есть активничать, не активничать, ну, в целях отчета. Ну, так беспорядочно, там, сами видите, судя там по городу, шумят куда угодно. Хочу добавить только нашим оппонентам, чтобы они, пусть даже если не складывали оружие, пусть со своим оружием просто идут домой, едут из Западной Украины, там еще куда-нибудь, свой лес, строят дома и занимаются своей семьей. Почему? Потому что мы дома уже 9-й год, ну и можно сделать выводы уже любому человеку, что мы сдаваться не будем, назад отходить не будем, и их сюда не пустим. Вне зависимости там какие там у них настрои, это однозначно.
افرحوا معي يا أصدقاء.
На войне вот сейчас мы пошли, собрали отряд добровольческий. Сейчас здесь проходим. У нас обучение сейчас было. Сейчас зашли. Ориентацию. Можно сказать, в полевых условиях боевые слаживания продолжаем проводить. Собираемся штурмовать.
Kako se vreme ciklično.
Что вообще побудило тебя и твоих товарищей пойти добровольцами? Вообще мне этот вопрос сейчас поддерживает, спрашивают. Все же предельно ясно. Если кому-то не ясно, я не понимаю, почему вещи не называются своими именами. Идет война. Большая война, может быть, самая большая война, которая была. И любой нормальный мужик сейчас должен быть здесь. Что бы ты, как вот житель Москвы, хотел бы сказать жителям города Донецка? Хотел бы сказать, я просто преклоняюсь перед этими людьми, на самом деле, перед их принципиальной позицией, сколько они за нее пережили, и пора нам делом показать им, что они Россия, что они часть огромной сильной страны. То, что сейчас происходит, это даже вот здесь, это вот именно здесь, это звучит так, как оно и есть. Война добра и зла.
Well.
Tactics mean doing what... Petra is a brilliant display of man's art history in turning barren rock into majestic wonder.
Hours. Stop it. You're not making the game better by making it take longer. You're not making the game better by making people roll 2 barbarians. It is so fucking dumb. Like, am I crazy here? I think this is so stupid, man. That's the point of view of a designer and not a player. Well, you've got to remember who the audience is. The audience is, I mean, like, listen, this is what happened with Covenants. Yeah, this is ridiculous, man. 5x Berserker, surprised? Yeah, I think it's stupid. I am actually surprised that they're doubling down, not doubling down on this. They haven't really talked about it a lot, but that they're going down this meaningful choice fucking road again, because they just failed at that with WoW. They spent an entire expansion failing at that. They spent the entire previous expansion failing at that, and the one before that they were failing at it with the legendaries. So how is it that you fail at something in your... This is probably World of Warcraft is the closest analogy that you're going to have to Diablo 4. Probably somewhere at Diablo 3 as well, too. But World of Warcraft is obviously getting worked on much more than Diablo 3. It's hard to know really what their design goals are with Diablo 3 now that, like, nothing happens in the game. Other than, like, them, oh, now this thing does 8,000% damage instead of 400% damage, so now it's the meta. So that's the thing, is that they failed at this every single fucking time. And again, even if you don't take in the context of the failing of every single fucking time, you also just have to look at it objectively. My experience as a player will not be improved if I have to level a second barbarian to play another build. Period. I don't want to do it. I don't think it's fun. It's repetitive. It's punishing, it's boring, it's slow. There's no upside to this. If you played Diablo 2, you know that creating a new character is not a big deal, unlike in WoW, completely different. If it's not a big deal, then why do you have to do it? So everybody will play copy pasta characters? Yes, they will, because they don't want to make the wrong character and then have to make another one later. It's a strange decision, yeah. It's so dumb, man. I don't understand it at all. It's literally just a time waster. Yeah, it's so stupid. I mean, same thing happens in PoE. Yeah, and I think that how many people... Like, how many people do you think played PoE and then put their own talents in, and then they got bricked at, like, Kitava, or, you know, realistically probably Act 6 because the resistances went down a lot, and then they just quit the game because they didn't want to respec. They looked it up, they're like, oh, this is going to take a lot of Orbs of Regret, I can't afford this, like, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. That's horrible. PoE is not fun to replay the axe. Diablo 2 was. Oh, bad comparison. So you think that you think my comparison was bad because of your subjective decision? Because there's a lot of people that like replaying the axe in PoE. So your subjective evaluation on if the axe are fun to play or not is why the system is good? It doesn't make any sense.
Nenade prevaru.
That's the end of the video. Okay. All right. Never mind. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to on testing and its live service plans. Wait a second. What's this here? When did this come out? Did I see this? This came out 2 fucking days ago. Holy shit. Okay. Well, we're gonna watch another one of these and then we'll watch something else after that. There's apparently a lot of Diablo 4, content. So this is good. We've got a lot of stuff to look at. So. This enforces video too. Yeah, I'll just watch it. I mean, it's personal. Yeah, I just don't like repeating it. Specifically, standard is there for folks that don't want to level. All I'm saying is that I think that making a player re-level over and over and over is just simply not... This is not fun. And also, if you contextualize this around the fact that Diablo 4 is supposed to be a casual game. Like, I feel like is it stated that it's supposed to be a casual game? No, but it's kind of implied with how many times they say, oh, you don't have to go to a bunch of menus or look at a bunch of stuff. I think the idea is for Diablo 4 to be simpler and easier to get into. And they mention this multiple times with, like, not having a bunch of abilities, being able to customize them, etc. So why is it that you're adding something that is casual unfriendly? I don't understand it. Some developers hate the fact that you can see someone's build and just copy it in a few seconds. Yeah, but that doesn't stop you from making a new character and copying it every step of the way. PoE should have proven that endgame is what makes people invested. Why are developers make the grind early and the story so important? I don't understand. You can still reset with gold. You shouldn't have to reset with anything. And if it just costs more gold, and then it's harder to respec later on, I think that this is just a prohibitive cost that makes the game worse and adds no gameplay, and just punishes casual...
Mnogo se vidi kad na mapi.
Na ženu? Da.
Što se mnogo vidi?
Mnogo se vidi. Kao i ovaj Black Gold. Čim što ima na Red Dead.
A, ovo ženska.
Ne sviđa.
A vi volite svi kamo likovi, jel? Ono je bila greška Krajtekova neviđena. Kad su napravili onoga Headsmana. Onoga Gelata. Napravili su kamo lika koji je free to play, bukvalno, znaš.
Ej, ali isto u crkvište, u crkvu, bratu, dvorište.
Da.
Ja onu Weird Sister nisam vidio, znači lik čučao s njom, ona su topila, brate, ja mislio spomenik.
Wow. Neko ima takav izgled.
I ona isto zajeba, onaj štrukao.
Kane.
A, njega su malo nerfovali. Ili sjebali. Malo.
Šta kad se nabije recimo u pauka, u vežu kuda ćeš da ga vidiš. U ćoša kako se nabije.
I na onu mapu, bre, ne... Ono... Gde salaj, bre. E, i na Desale isto zajebana ona što ima ono delo od trave napravljeno.
Koja?
Ima neka ženska kao, nosi kao Gili Suit, brate. Ima mi, ne znam, mnogo zajebana, brate.
A to Tier 3 skin ili Pay to...
Pay.
Da nije onaj aligator.
Ma ne bre, ženska u travu, brate, obučena.
Ko je to? Ajde, pomozi. Ko je to žena obučena u travu?
Kao da nosi Gili Suit.
A imaju oni Tier 3, oni stalker skinovi, no. Ali, ne znam da si na to misli.
Kuponi. Pravi.
Palio sam.
E, pogledaj, Nenade, te hunter koji mogu da se kupe. Reci mi koji je to ženski lik koji ima kao Gili Sud.
Ваши люди жаждут познания красоты. Но вы гнушаетесь.
Zaboravio sam.
От чего же?
Čevo že? Uf, zaboravio da kupim Apostola Pavla.
Da idemo.
Čekaj, sad ćeš ti mene sad.
E sad, čekaj, nemojte tako, jedan počeo jedno, drugi drugo. Nećete se nikad...
Be, ja obećam da ću ga...
Aha, da.
Da ću dignem to i to. Ja ću uzim ja jednom ovako.
Eto viš.
Šta je sad na Red Dead? Šta dalje? Pa da, naturalist. To je ceo mjesto.
Ja sam probao legendarna životinja kad je ono prodaš od nje onaj uzorak krvi 90 do $100 dobiš. Nije ni loše.
Orn 3 puta za to.
Da.
Od ceo mjesto.
Ako ideš na legendarne životinje možeš zaraditi fine pare. Ali interesantno.
Ja.
To bi trebalo inače... Ništa.
Ja njih lovim, brate, da dam krispu, brate, pijem jednu, napunim skoro celo.
A tako ide?
Nema sad da idem da lovim ove životinje. Odim, uzmem, ubijem jednu, krokodila najčešće, to je to. Evo ti 4 žabe. Donirao sam ti 4 žabe.
Sam met koji spavnio da mi umre, evo te. Samo neki pancirove, ima si kup. Žali Bože, ovo mi komunici. Molim.
Da.
Molim sam 30 metri ko njega, čovjek okrenut nešto.
Slabo gađaš.
U grijuli sam ga pucao.
Aha.
Koji god pancira ima, to je GG.
Ti igraš taj Marauders?
Zovi Nenad.
Ja?
Mhm.
Ja ti vidim Snake razmak Frost, ali najraniji video ti je pre 2 nedelje na...
Nema sad live, šta?
Nemam ni live, nemam ni...
Nemoguće. Sad ću ti reći odmah.
Evo, opet mi ustrao golu, delite.
Možda ovo?
S.W.Frosta, ja sam te našao sa tvojim slikom Snake razmak Frost.
Ne. Laž, ne verujem.
Pa dobro, nosim ja lockpick.
A koji ti je ovo kanal?
A, to mi je creator kanal. Aha.
Na YouTube, a?
A da, to ti ono, imaš regularni kanal, imaš creator kanal, on je kao creator kanal, ne mogu da pravim klipove i to. To ti je, Bože, sačuvaj. Interesantna stvar, ali.
720 speed, a?
Pa ne mogu ja više da uploadem, nisam ja ko Milan. Mogu ja da dignem rezoluciju, nije problem na 280 i 30 frame-ova ili 60, ali ne može upload da izdrži. Onda vidim, Ctrl F2, a sad sam prebacio full screen.
Imaš neku misiju da odradiš. Ti pomogu.
Jel to malo bladunjavo ili se meni čini?
A otkud to da to pišeš po YouTube-u, a ne samo na onaj...
Ne, sad otvori Twitch. Sad otvori Twitch i pogledaj da li streamer na Twitchu. Aj.
Da.
Aha, kako to?
Unišim jedan
Kak je to moguće, ja?
Rado.
Kako piču no?
Taj jedan.
Jedan rado je moram da uništim.
Moj Boris. Zato što koristim Restream. Restream.io, tako se zove. U OBS-u imaš da namestiš da ne broadcastuješ na Twitch, ni na YouTube, nego staviš Restream. I na Restream imaš da podesiš na free, imaš da streamaš na 2 platforme. Na premium možda streamaš na 5 platforme ako hoćeš odjednom. To jest, oni šalju. Razumeš, oni broadcastuju za tebe.
To botu je bio?
Ne znam. Jes.
To se bio međusobno.
Jedino kad vrtaš malo mi se onda realizuje.
A, to ti je upload, verovatno. Pitao sam te zbog enkodera, ni zbog čega drugog.
Čaki, ali to u običnom OBS-u taj...
Ima, pogledaj kao output. Tamo imaš da biraš kao taj servis na koji kao ti ide. Imaš da biraš Twitch, YouTube, imaš Restream.
Applaud TIJE slab imas kakas na srumua.
Nije problem do uploada, mislim da je problem do